greatest day of the week.
See, I'm bringing you across, aren't I?
Yes.
You're starting to realize. What
yes.
We've been doing this 7 or 8 years now, and finally you're coming around to this being the greatest day of the week.
No, I'm like Trump on Friday night. I'm just kind of agreeing to it or smiling when I. No, I love Mondays. It's good to be back.
Yeah, and a hot upper 90s all week long. Tell you more about that in a minute. President Trump talking about Iran.
Decision about the major strikes that you were referring to. Okay, should we expect to see major strikes?
Look, we're talking to them right now. I think they're getting more and more serious as the days go by, for maybe the obvious reason. But we are talking to them right now. Look, there are two ways. I consider that the smarter way, but the other is probably the easier way, doing what we're doing.
When I left here on Friday, I was talking about, I believe that we were going to do something really drastic over the weekend, and I obviously got it wrong. I said, I don't know. I mean, nobody knows, right? This guy knows. I mean, the president knows. And I think he's doing a lot of this on the fly. I don't think he's got like this grand master plan of I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But what is becoming very clear, I think, recently has been this idea that we're probably leaning towards some sort of ground thing that's going to have to happen to get the cake and or get Carg Island. A lot of talk about that this week.
Well, I was reading stuff here and there about how they've moved a lot of this stuff to this network of tunnels under this other island or Carg Island, I guess, and they're worried about, their ability. The new guy is more prone or likes the idea of nukes more than, I guess, his predecessor or his dad or whoever the hell is running that country at this point. I mean, to your original point.
Yes.
Because we were talking about this off the air. Because, I was off last week, but as the week was winding down, I'm like, all right, it's the show. It's going to happen. Yeah. This is the big show. And yet here we are.
Well, we spent 13 days, 13 straight days last week and the week before, obviously, of preparing the border. We were attacking certain ballistic missile sites. We were attacking all their drones and all that stuff that they could use successfully against our guys. Now, they still have a lot of troops on the ground. Iran does. They have a lot of ground troops. So anything that we would undertake as far as the ground invasion of any kind would be a tough one to try to get through. But we have elite forces that can do amazing things. But you are talking about taking on casualties during an election season, which is a very difficult thing to do. The thing you're talking about, Carg Island, of course, is where their oil reserves come out of. They put it all on Carg, put it on the ships at Carg. The other thing that you're talking about, though, is actually what they moved from one of the mountains, Ferdo, into Pickaxe Mountain, which is next to Ferdo.
I was going to say it's got a weird name, Pickaxe.
Right to it. And it is deeper, buried deeper, so it's harder for our B-2s to deliver the munitions to get it. So if that's the case, if they successfully moved it, and we're also seeing satellite imagery now that is proving they're rebuilding a whole lot quicker. So we blow up something, and bam, in just hours, they're able to rebuild. So.
Well, that's why when we were talking about off the air, I'm like, I don't know. I don't, because I'm having this conversation with my wife over the weekend. Like, I don't know if he's trying to wait them out through the midterms, if he wants to do the big fireworks display and the ground troops before the midterms. I don't know anymore what the play is. And I'm with you. I trust that there is a play. I don't believe he's making it up as he goes along. But it does feel like we're just caught in this circle of, we're gonna wipe them off the face of the earth, and then diplomacy's going to work. And we're back here again.
Well, a certain amount of that, I believe, has to do with the art of the deal, because he moves these forces in place and he says things like he said last week, which is, I could go heavy on you guys at any time, which he's thinking maybe with the art of the deal, he comes in with maximum power, and that forces them to take a knee, to bend a knee to him. These guys aren't going to bend a knee. I saw the same report you did. The gay Khomeini, the homosexual Khomeini, is more, according to media, and I don't believe hardly anything the media says, including Fox News.
We'll get to the media. Yeah. We got a lot to say about them.
So, according to the media, the gay Khomeini is all about nukes and wants nukes more than his dad. I don't even know that dude's alive. It could be, a total false report, and a lot of it is total false reporting. Fact of the matter is, their military is still launching some stuff, still able to make contact. Came out last week that the Russians were probably involved some level in that attack that killed our folks the week before, the weekend before. So it's still what it was on Friday. That's what it is. It's still what it was on Friday. Nothing changed this weekekend. If you're waking up this
nothing
morning
did.
wondering, nothing changed this weekend.
But it was another one of those weekends where you're bracing. Okay, here we go, and no, here we're not going to go. And I again, it's not really the best opinion to have on air as a talk show host. But my fancy schmancy opinion is, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to wind up. I really don't. I think it's impossible. You're right. As far as media reporting, you have no idea what you can believe or not believe. We hear back and forth about Hezbollah, and the Iranian government is, or whoever that is saying we're still going to support them. I don't know. I have no idea how this thing is going to play out.
Well, John Kennedy commented over the weekend, and he said to Margaret Brennan, sometimes you got to kill some chickens to scare the monkeys.
Well,
which is a Chinese idiom for those who don't know, but that's what he's talking about there. 260 criminal illegal aliens arrested in Houston. This was first half of July 1 through 15. They were caught for child sex, for sex trafficking, for theft, for rape, for robbery. But, these are great people, and we don't want to keep them from voting in America. We want criminal illegal aliens that rape children voting in our elections. Don't you? I mean, isn't that what we want?
Yes. We're with open arms, yeah.
That's what Julian Castro stands for. He wants them all released, and he doesn't want the Save America Act. So apparently those are the kind of people that Julian or Joaquin want voting in our elections.
Well, it's especially poisonous with those two guys, because you'd think those two guys, and I know I'm being fantastical here, would actually give a crap about people who are being preyed upon, other brown people who are preyed upon by these illegals and these gang guys. You'd think that would be their primary concern, and not the bad guys, but it is the Castro boys.
Sure. So at least they're arresting them over in Houston. They
Right.
got 216 in the first few days of July. I don't know how July is going to play out. We're not done with July yet. It's only the 27th, but I know we'll see. We're still arresting the bad guys and getting them out of this country as fast as we can. And the Democrats, they are hurt over these removals that are going on.
Well, of course they are. I mean, this is the cheat, right? This is why they opened up the border under the Biden administration to begin with, was to cheat elections, essentially, and also to create chaos in the streets, which we've talked about on a number of occasions. You keep hearing about the DSA and how they want open borders, and you talk about that quite often, that if you think it's bad now, let these people get into power after the midterms and do away with Trump policy, and they're going to open up that border again for a time. But you and I both know that if they actually could create the fascist state they want, the communist state they want, there'd be walls all over the place along that border. Nobody would be getting in and out.
Well, nobody get out. That's the thing. It will change from under the Trump administration, keeping people out. And if the commies take over, it's all about keeping people in.
Well, yeah.
Because we're going to try to get out of here. Let me tell you about my friends over at Quarter Moon Heat and AC and Plumbing. You know the good guys are ready to take care of your AC issues. And, man, it's going to be a hot week. I hope nothing happens to your AC, but I just want you to know, if it does, Quarter Moon is going to be right there at 210-651-5899 to come to you and to fix your issue no matter what it is. They have certified, qualified techs that are ready to do the job for you at Quarter Moon, and they can do it in a rapid style. They got a rapid response team that when you need somebody to cool you off, Quarter Moon can get a team over to you right away and get your house cool all over again. One of the best things that I recommend to people all the time is to sign up with their maintenance program to make sure that they are looking at your system on a regular basis to prevent any breakdowns with your AC system. Same is true with your plumbing. When you need a great plumber, you need a master plumber, you need a fully stocked truck that's ready to take care of the job, I highly recommend Quarter Moon. So for over 35 years, I've been saying just call Quarter Moon. They've been around for over 43 years at Quarter Moon. 210-651-5899. All right, it's going to be hot, upper 90s all week. Right now, 75 KTSA. Hot in the upper 90s all week. We're Ware and Rima.
Well, should we unpack the White House correspondent or the redo of the White House Correspondents' Dinner here, or do you want to do that in the next segment?
Have at it.
I did a video this morning. This was my initial reaction, and I, it all full disclosure. My mother-in-law came over and watched Rangers baseball with us Friday and Saturday night, so I actually sat through it yesterday afternoon. Both Wolf Blitzer handing out all the awards to pretty much everybody in D.C. who had written a crap piece about Donald Trump, the Epstein files, all that nonsense, and that was kind of painful to watch. And then Donald Trump for an hour, I think an hour and 4 minutes or however long that went on. And to me, it felt like, and I'm not saying my family or anybody's specific family, but have you ever been to like a family gathering where everybody hates everybody's guts and they hate each other so much they don't even bother to hide their disdain for each other anymore? And you just want to get the hell out of there? That's how I felt. Like, okay. I just wanted it to be over. Okay. It was so painful to watch. And I love Donald Trump. And some of those jokes, like the fat pig thing with Pritzker he's done before. Even Trump, about 2/3 of the way in, kind of had this attitude like, I know this sucks, but I'm going to keep going. I just thought the whole thing was painful. And I didn't expect anything different. But given that there was an assassination attempt and a whole lot of people could have died back in April, it would have been refreshing to see something a little different, maybe specifically from the president. I mean, I'm not saying any of the insults weren't well-warranted, and they had tried to embarrass him, obviously, with the awards that they gave out. But I don't know what I was expecting. Actually, in a weird way, it was a perfect reflection of who we are right now as a country, in a sense. But I felt it was painful. I did not think Trump gave a great speech. Again, the awards thing was laughable. Watching them all sit there with their pinched faces while he went on, it was just, I thought it was cringy. I thought the whole damn thing was cringy, honestly. I did too. The jokes didn't land.
He tanked.
Yeah,
Even at one point he said, I don't know, when he said that about the lawmaker who couldn't climb the stairs and make love to his wife at the same time.
Oh,
even at that point he said, I don't know why I'm reading this Franken speech.
I thought it was awful. I mean, I don't know. You and I haven't talked about it. We didn't pre-discuss this, but I thought it was cringy.
I think every one of them for years, probably decades, has been awful. And this was particularly bad. But when you've got a room full of Washington elites who are very wealthy and very well protected and very much out of contact with the American people and very much set to destroy this country because they're being paid by people to lie and to put propaganda out there and to program the minds of people against this country, I can't stand any of them. There ain't one of them in there that I would give you 2 cents for. Not even one.
Oh, I agree.
And the president, he whatever. He tried to do his old Trump thing, and
But I am delighted to be here at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Amazing people. A lot of people that I like. Some I don't like it all. But I respect most of them. I must say that you do a great job, amazing job, and it's an honor. As I said 3 months ago, the show must go on.
Well, no, it doesn't necessarily have to go on. Now, he landed a couple of them. Most of the jokes just really suck, to be honest. He landed a couple of them.
But after hearing the gunshots, many people yelled, get down, which caused Nicki Minaj to start twerking. Do you believe it?
You know what I mean? So it was like, why? I mean, why are we even here? Why would we be here? He did have a true sentiment, I think, at one point.
I want to begin by expressing our gratitude to the incredible men and women who put their lives on the line every day to protect my family and myself, all presidents, and lots of others. That's the United States Secret Service, so I appreciate it very much.
Yeah,
I thought that was all right.
Yeah, and everybody clapped, It was like the one moment when everybody was kind of, I guess, trying to appear unified or what have you. But I guess because of the violence that took place at the last one, had he been a little more poetic, a little more soaring, a little more on script, and maybe the script was, I know it's a roast, it would have shown them to be the true a-holes that they are. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let the other person be the a-hole and you not be the a-hole. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously it's a roast. He's got to throw some zingers out, but I think he could have done that in a much better crafted speech that also talked about how, we're going to keep going, even though somebody tried to bust in here and shoot a bunch of people. There could have been stuff. I guess soaring is the word I kept coming back to. I wanted it to be more presidential than it was, and it was Trump being Trump, but to me, God, that hour felt long.
It was. And the joke about Caitlin Collins being on Bud Light, I thought that was horrible.
Yeah.
I've got all that stuff I could play,
Sure.
but I'm not going to bore anybody right now with it. But the fact of the matter is, it was beneath him. It was beneath the office.
That's the way I would put it.
If he was going to make jokes about somebody and do it, reading a speech that he said it's a freaking speech that these people wrote for me. I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, he was done. If he freewheels these things, sometimes every time he's funnier. Just freewheeling instead of reading what somebody else wrote.
It just felt like a comedian that's tanking really badly, but he's got to stay up there, and he could tell he wasn't all that happy with it himself. There were good moments. It's one of those things where on like one of these TikTok quick edits, it'll probably look fantastic if you could string together, the few really good lines. But even that, you're right. Even that, I don't know if you can quick edit that thing into being anything engaging.
Well, yes, no, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Probably the best way he could have handled that is to walk in and go, "You don't like me. I don't like you. We have some awards to do and some rubbery chicken to eat. So let's get this thing done and everybody go to the house."
Did y'all like the RFK joke?
That was funny.
I thought that was one of the best ones of the night.
I like that. That cracked me
up. And then
up.
He made Cheryl laugh a couple of times after that.
Here it is. I have it for you.
I hope that everyone finally got to enjoy their entire very delicious beef tenderloins, very special beef. And I want you all to know that Bobby Kennedy, who's right here, personally ran over the cow in his car.
All right, point Trump on
He
that
brought it
one.
here for you to eat tonight, so it's very fresh. And Bobby also suggested an appetizer featuring his favorite cut of male raccoon roadkill. But we drew the line at that, Cheryl. We said, no, we're not going to do that.
And she nodded her head and hollered something at him. All right, quick break. More Ware and Rima coming up. And here in Texas, they're ready to test your hearing to find out what's going on. If you're hearing a hearing problem, maybe you spent the weekend with some friends, or maybe you were out and about over this weekend. You're having a hard time hearing things properly. Our friends at Here in Texas are here for you this week. HEAR, HereInTX.com, and they're ready to test your hearing, see what's going on. And if you need hearing aids, this is where you need to go. Bar none, because there's nobody like Here in Texas. It's headed up by Dr. Sally and Carlos and those two lovely dogs, Audio and Hero, and they're ready to work for you to get your hearing back to where it should be. Or if it's a loved one that you know that's having issues with their hearing, Here in Texas is here for your loved one as well. They accept insurance, they accept TRICARE, so there's every reason in the world to go see our friends there. Plus, the professionalism. They are truly professional people that know what it takes to help you with your hearing and correct your hearing. So if you want to go online right now and book that appointment, that would be great. At Here in Texas, HEAR, HereInTX.com.
Guests of Ware and Rima appear via the Stevens Roofing Newsmaker Hotline.
Listen up. We are raccoons, and we are a big
It's 6:33. We're Ware and Rima, KTSA. Yeah. I got my quick hits, bits and pieces here. The Senate is going on a month-long vacation, and we don't have secure elections. So go ahead, Senate. Take your month-long. Go for August, and don't pass the Save America Act. And see how many of you are invited back to do work in the future.
So nothing happened over the week that I was gone that advanced this in any way, shape, or form. On that?
No, nothing happened on that.
Right.
You know nothing's going to happen.
Right.
All right. Well, the one thing that did happen was the House put in a reconciliation bill, but the Senate now says, we're going to take a break for a month, and we'll see you at the end of August. Okay, the socialists, they're actually communists, says that the U.S. Constitution is the nationalization and rationalization of the pirate kingdom. They did a workshop on the ways to abolish the United States Constitution led by a radical Kenyan author. It wasn't Obama, but he's a radical Kenyan. No, this was Fidel, his name. The book is How Americans Came to Idolize a Document That Fails Them. And a room full of Nepo babies at the workshop showing how they want to, number one, abolish voter registration, and anybody at any time from any nation can vote in our elections. Well, they kind of feel that way now. Megan Romer is their national co-chair for the, quote, DSA. She was asked some questions by Shannon Bream yesterday.
So we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Okay, so when we're talking about abolishing police and abolishing prisons, James Transcrepo is all about doing exactly that. And I'm going to bring the receipts on this guy again because his folks are saying something completely different than what he's always stood for and what he has voted for on just about everything. So here he is talking about prisons.
Poverty is violence. Pollution is violence. And yes, prison is violence. Dismantle this system of violence, build something new, something better, something rooted in love.
We need to get rid of prisons and do something rooted in love. And so,
what does that even mean?
It means nothing, Sean.
It doesn't mean anything.
So I went to the statistical website for the National Criminal database, and I dug up some particular things concerning prisoners in prison because, you know, I'm all about bricks and bars.
Right.
And that's where people belong. So most of the individuals that end up in prison have been arrested on average at least 11 times before they ever go to prison.
Right.
So when you hear me talk about these guys who have gone 50 times, that's on top of the 11 or so times that they are arrested before they even go to prison. So make it 61 times, and you'll be more accurate. 62% of inmates in America's prisons are there for violent crimes such as rape and murder. 62%. So the majority of them that are there for very violent crimes, rape and murder. 83% reoffend when they get out. And every single judge who releases them knows that before he releases them or she releases them. And here's one that we know about in Chicago, but it kind of surprised me that this is a nationwide fact, according to our federal criminal database. 90% of black people who are murder victims were killed by other blacks.
Right.
90%.
That's been true for some time, I would think.
Well,
but they don't want to talk about it.
But that none of us know that number. I mean, I looked at 90%. Are you kidding? So Tallarico says that prison is violence. He said people don't belong in cages, and America will learn to live without prisons.
How?
Well, and the fact of the matter is, these stats show that not only do we need prisons, But we need to keep the people that are in there because 83% of them get out and go back and do it again. And when they go back and do it again, it's a worse crime than the one that put them there in the first place.
I quote Richard Pryor from Stir Crazy. Thank God we have, or no, his old stage act. Thank God we have prisons. I mean, there's some pretty nasty people in there, and they're in there for a reason. But again, I always try to toss this in. They want to get rid of the prison system, but don't think for a second they want to get rid of prisons or places to put people. It really what's going to change is who would be in those places. And the people who would be in those places are the same folks in any other communist regime, are the dissidents, the critics, the people who dare to speak their mind. They're the ones who end up filling up the prisons, not the dangerous criminals. I also thought it was funny as hell that this was one fun. Trump brought up Transrico or Talarico at the Correspondents' Dinner, and he did use Transfrico, which I thought was kind of funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what he is.
And one more thing also on this Romer chick, the co-chair over at the Socialist wing of the Democrats, this business of getting rid of the Senate, I think is interesting, because if you want to get rid of the Senate, I mean, they want to get rid of the presidency as well and all that. But I thinking it through, the idea of getting rid of the Senate is you basically make it one old big House of Representatives where everybody has a say. It's kind of a faux concept of a true democracy. But really what you do if you get rid of the Senate, in my opinion, maybe I don't know if you agree or not, is you open up the entire government to blackmail and power and money behind the scenes kind of dictating how things run in this country.
That's how communist nations work.
Yeah, they got to get rid of the Senate.
And they typically have a figurehead like a Stalin or a Mao or somebody like that. But I'll give the full list. We only played a portion of it, and then I've got somebody else who's going to comment on this on tape. Abolish the Senate, replace the presidency and SCOTUS, eliminate borders completely, full amnesty for everybody who is here and everybody who wants to come. And I just told you they also support anybody, no more registering to vote. Anybody who wants to vote, it doesn't matter if you live in Spain or Japan, if you want to come vote here, then you certainly can.
That's while they have elections at all.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Defund the Pentagon, eliminate prisons, shift corporations to public ownership. That right there is communism. And expand Congress and make it unicameral, so you won't have two bodies, you'll have one. So that the entire checks and balances of our government go away.
Well, yeah.
And so when the checks and balances of the government go away, everybody's greasing their palms and doing whatever they want to do. You don't have a presidency who's leading the charge here as a figurehead. You put somebody up there as a Stalin or whatever, and when they get out of whack, you just put a bullet in the back of their head, which is what communists do.
If you get rid of all those levels of our government as designed by the Constitution, then the bad guys run the whole show. You've basically made the government as it's designed ineffective, and it can't do. There's no checks and balances. So power, fear, money, blackmail, all that nasty stuff would rule the day in this country.
And is it possible that they're going to get this done? Absolutely. It's very possible they're going to get it done. We have, on the 4th of August, we will have another election up in Michigan where a guy is running as a communist. I don't even call him socialist. But should we be worried about this? I don't know. Let's listen to this sage.
So should we be scared? I think that if you could see what's coming, you should be scared, because most radical revolutions are carried out by a small, determined minority. It's not the active participation of the majority of the population. The broader population is usually taken by surprise in these matters, because by nature, we're kind of passive politically, and that allows a tight-knit group of elites to seize power, first through a party, then through the cities, communications, i.e. the media, academia. The Bolsheviks were a minority party. The Cuban Revolution was started by 82 men. China under Mao, that was done through, controlling party cadres. These all start small, but the ingredient that helps them succeed is passivity. AOC's laugh is deliberate. It's telling you not to notice, that you're silly for noticing, that you're silly for being worried. Relax, there's nothing to see here, because socialism's ascendance is based on us being passive the same way they gaslit us with Joe Biden. You noticed he was off? No. Sharp as a tack. Keep them passive. Don't let them notice the truth. God forbid you notice the truth. So that's what they're doing right now. It's not that big of a deal. Hey, it's almost just like MAGA.
More Ware and Rima. He's right. More Ware and Rima coming up. KTSA at Stevens Roofing. They'll come right on out and give you a free, no-obligation roof inspection if you'll call them at 210-785-0994. San Antonio's own Stevens Roofing. More than 40 years in business around here, 43 actually. They understand roofs in our part of the country. They understand the weather in our part of the country, and they're ready to help your roof get better. And look, the bottom line is we had all that rain a couple of weeks ago. 2 weeks ago today is when it started. And you may have had some damage. And if you did, you want Stevens to come out and take a look at it and let you know what needs to be done to fix it. Trusted by South Texas homeowners and businesses for years and years and decades, roof repair, full roof replacement, composition, standing seam metal. They do it all at Stevens Roofing. And your satisfaction is always guaranteed. They use premium quality materials. They have experts who do the roofing, not fly-by-night guys. I'm talking about guys, teams that have been working for Stevens now for decades. Are the same guys going to come roof your home as well and take great care of you. Get that free, no-obligation roof inspection right away when you just give them a call at Stevens Roofing, 210-785-0994. Going to be hot, upper 90s all week, 75 now, KTSA. That's the smartest man in Texas, Jonathan Gerwitz. We just a couple of dorks on the radio, Ware and Rima, KTSA.
Well, a couple of things here. We got some time here. First off, I want to give a shout-out to the San Antonio Film Festival, which went on this past week. It culminated last night. I don't know if you guys talked about this or not, but a lot of local filmmakers were honored, and it was interesting yesterday. I woke up to this news because I went to bed pretty early yesterday, but they had the final ceremony last night, and they gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Gregory Nava, who directed the original Selena movie back in 1997. Selena's sister was there as he got the Lifetime Achievement Award. Yami Virgin was there doing a panel with him before the big presentation. So that was kind of cool. It's one of those things that a lot of people don't know about. That I didn't attend any of the events. It was a week-long thing, but it is really cool that we have a San Antonio Film Festival where local artists are honored, and even some national folks that have become known from their work here in San Antonio. So well done. That was cool. Also, I don't know if you guys talked about this or not. I'm probably going to be hitting a few things today that you guys maybe already hit last week.
Say it anyway. You don't even need to say that part because
Right.
Because people listen at different times. So,
so I don't know if you guys talked about these two dudes in North Dakota who found out just by accident. One of them found out that at the hospital where they were both born, they were accidentally given to the wrong biological families, to the wrong biological parents. And they ended up living for 40 years, their whole lives, with, in a sense, the wrong family. And they're suing the hospital now, and the hospital's saying there was some kind of, screw up. It wasn't the staff's fault. I mean, this was 40 years ago. And they've actually kind of hooked up with some of the other family members, but they've decided they have no plans to meet each other anytime soon. And I guess the idea is that, they've grown up with these different families, but that is their family. That's what they grew up with. And so meeting each other, it's not like an ill will thing. It's just, it would be probably a little difficult emotionally for both of them. The question that popped into my head is, would you want to meet, if you found out, in your 40s, 50s, that you had been given to the wrong family when you were born, and you'd been swapped with another person, and you went through your whole life living with this other family, and you believe they're your family, would you want to meet that person?
Me personally?
Yeah, I'm just as a question to ask.
Probably not. First of all, it's pretty interesting how he found out. The first guy found out because somebody gifted him a DNA test. He takes the DNA test and realizes, wait a minute, the other members of my family don't match the DNA, and so something's wrong. And then they found a cousin.
Right.
And the cousin took the test, and sure enough, it's the cousin.
And there had been kind of a joke inside the families that he didn't really look like any of the other members of the family.
The cousin was he always felt like he had been adopted because he looked nothing like his mama. Now who knows where Dad was, but he looked nothing like his mama, and he was like, wait a minute, there's something off about this. But again, Sean, the reason I say probably not is that I'm one of these that believes your family are the people who love you and they're going to be there for you. It's much more than just blood. I mean, obviously we call the blood relatives your family, but to me, family is the people that are going to be there and love you and take care of you when you need it the most. You know what I mean? That's to me that's family.
And that's kind of what their argument is. It would just be too weird for us to get together. But me personally, I'd be curious. Like I'd want to meet the dude. I mean, I really would want to.
I've got a funny story. When I was born, my mom and dad were taking a break, and I was born in Tucson Medical Center. And my grandma and grandpa on my dad's side, or his mom and dad, always thought that I didn't belong to my dad. And then when they saw me come out, when they saw the picture or the nose and the lips, They told each other, okay, that's his. Let's go.
Well, you know.
That's Ralph's baby.
And you know, and when she says taking a break, that reminds me of the 70s, man. A lot of couples took breaks in the 70s.
Yeah,
man.
like almost on an hourly basis.
Well, it's that whole free love thing,
I was
you
created
know.
during the break.
The pill came out, so sex was going crazy and all that. So it was time to take a break for a week.
Right. That would be a toughie, though. That would be a real weird situation because of the amount of time. You know, it's one thing if you found out a few years or even when you're still a teenager. There's a famous story about Jack Nicholson that he never realized growing up. I think it was the person he thought was his sister was actually his mom. And he grew up, I forget how it happened. He's actually raised by his grandmother. And, you know, so it'd be a very strange situation to be in when you've lived your entire life with this understanding that these are your family or this is your mom or this is your dad. And then you find out that's absolutely not true. And you're right. Yeah, dude just was gifted one of these DNA. People do this all the time, you know, to trace their ancestry and found out he wasn't related to nobody he'd been grown up with.
I was raised by a bunch of monkeys out in the jungle, and I swing by a vine, and I only wear a little leather thing right down here. That's how I was raised.
I was actually abandoned by wolves as a child and raised by my parents. So, you know. But anyway, interesting
I always
story.
thought Dan Tana was my dad, the guy on Las Vegas.
You thought Dan Tana was your dad?
I didn't meet my dad till I was 7.
Oh. Why'd you think Dan Tana,
Because
Robert
I
Ulrich?
liked him. I thought he was good looking.
Robert Urich. That was his dad.
That is my daddy.
And you met your dad when you were 7?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. James, would you want to meet, if you found out you were swapped at birth, would you want to meet the other person? Or is that something you think would be weird?
Not at 40.
Not at 40?
I mean, I maybe would want to be friends with the dude that I was swapped with, but, you know, what are we going to do at 40?
Right.
I mean, they're not going to reprimand me. I'm not going to take their advice. I've already been through the crappy Little League that they put me through. I would just be friends with the dude, probably.
Right.
I'm with you.
Well, I just thought it was interesting because they've actually interacted with some of the other family members. You know what I mean? But as far as meeting each other, no, they absolutely don't want to do. The only other story I have is, I guess, maybe you guys hit this already. Katy Perry's pissed off because the White House used firework for one of their bombing Iran videos. It's
kind of a neat video.
You know how much Trey loves Katy Perry, so of course we covered that.
That story didn't come out till the week. That story came out this weekend. It was not. It didn't come out last week.
I saw it this weekend. But,
yeah, it came out this weekend. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of a neat video because every time we explode a bomb in Iran, she goes boom in the song. Boom,
boom,
so they put it perfectly, timed it perfectly. But no, that story didn't come out till Saturday night.
Oh, okay,
so,
yeah, I saw
we didn't
it.
hit it last week.
Katie, sweetheart.
Not that I would have, because I give two craps about Katy Perry.
Dating Trudeau?
Yeah,
yes.
That's icky. It's just icky.
Well, that's a cover story. You know what I mean?
Moved to Canada.
Right, Katie. You know, you should be happy that anybody is listening to Firework. Okay, you should be all these people who, you know, get all pissed off when Trump uses one of their songs. Baby, you're getting paid one way or the other. You ought to be happy that somebody's listening to your damn song. Firework came out 100 years ago, man. My kid was still a kid when Firework came out, all right? Be happy that somebody's listening to the damn thing and that somebody's paying attention to something other than you in bikini shots with Justin. Because that's really all the time. That's the only time she makes the news now is when they, you know, start swapping spit, you know, in front of a camera or loving on each other. Nobody gives a crap about her music anymore.
Well, and, you know, look what he did for the Village People.
Well, yeah. Yeah, which is also kind of funny in and of itself.
But, I mean, they were dead and gone.
Yeah. Well, they were a gay anthem. That's the only time, you know, gay people have a street parade. And all of a sudden they're playing YMCA.
But they weren't even a gay anthem anymore. It was more like they were gone. And Donald Trump started to dance to YMCA, and, man, now they're rich again.
I bet they made some money off of that. So, Katie, settle down there, sweetheart.
Isn't the leader of the Village People dead and gone?
He died a few weeks ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
Last month.
Last month?
Last month. More Ware and Rima coming up. KTSA.
When you want the best, when you want
I want to start with this whole concept I brought up last hour of the Democrats wanting to get rid of prisons, okay?
Sure.
Because James Calorico wants to get rid of prisons, okay?
Right.
And he has said it over and over again. Now, he's not saying that anymore. His people are saying, no, he doesn't want to do that. But his record, he's on record saying, hey, listen, prisons are violence. People don't belong in cages. We need to
some people do.
Erase the cages. And you know what? We're going to get used to living in a society without prisons. So what the man wants to, and I'm not even sure he's a man. I have no idea what he is. He's a creep. What he wants to do is get rid of the prisons, and those who are in there, 62% of them are in there for violent crimes such as rape and murder. He wants to just let them all out on the street so your daughter can get raped and your wife can be shot in the head by these guys once again, just like they have been over and over again. He wants that to happen because, that's the socialist thing to do. But we had this 12-year-old kid, the son of a former police sergeant in New York. Sweet little boy. I've looked at all the pictures. I looked at his artwork. Very, art inclined little boy. He got himself a bicycle a couple of weeks ago because a cousin of his got a new bike. And his aunt asked him, would you like to have the old one? Yeah, I'd love it. So, over the weekend, he gets on that bicycle and he rides it down to a bodega. Now, hang on, folks. This is going to make you want to cry. Rides it down to a bodega to buy a ball. Goes in, buys the ball, comes back out, and is getting on his bicycle when two gangbangers start shooting at each other on the street there in the Bronx and hit the kid in the chest. The kid gets off his brand new bicycle, or new to him bicycle, and goes running back into bodega holding his chest, and that's where he dies. They arrested a 45-year-old career criminal who has a long track record going back to 1999.
Yeah.
Killing, allegedly, a 12-year-old in a gang shootout there in the middle of the street in front of that bodega. Little innocent child. Now, who the hell is the judge who let this guy out all of these times for this long rap sheet since 1999? That's what I want to know. Because that judge is complicit in that boy's death because he allowed this guy who's been a career criminal back on the streets. He gets in the, what does a career criminal do? A career criminal does career crime and shoots this kid, allegedly, and now you got a dead 12-year-old. In gun control Seattle, you got 3 people dead up there, and I'm going to get to another point about both these. You got 3 people dead up there and about 5 who have been injured at the Bite of Seattle food festival that was going on last night. This just happened yesterday afternoon, last evening about 6:15. Some a-holes decided they're going to shoot the place up and killed 3 people. A toddler has been shot there, and they're telling us that these also were career criminals that they're looking for in this case.
Yeah, another case where they're shooting at each other, and I guess they start hitting other people. So, yeah, I mean, as far as the New York shooting, it also, you look at where the focus of leadership on. That guy's worried about arresting Netanyahu instead of the crime going on in his own streets.
Well, let me point out the matter of both of these places, New York City, New York State,
right,
and Seattle in Washington State, 2 of the most gun-controlled states on planet Earth, not just America.
Right.
If you look at Michael Bloomberg's Everywhere Gun USA group, they list both of those states as being the most gun-controlled states, and that means no what they call weapons of war, no assault weapons, all that other crap.
Ammunition restrictions, clip restrictions, stuff like that.
So, once again, we're proving that gun control does not work. The only gun control that works is when I control my gun, and if I have to use it against a bad guy. That's the only gun control worth having.
We keep seeing, gun violence on the rise in these cities where they have the most draconian gun laws. They don't. I may be shooting fish in a barrel here, Trey, but it seems like those gun laws don't work. See, maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like the bad guys don't really abide by the gun laws, and so they really have no effect on them. We have to say this so often, it's getting dull. Okay, the only people who are, separated from their guns in these cities are legal gun owners who would be the good guy with a gun in certain situations. Very hard for them to own guns, but the bad guys get guns all over the place, and they be shooting at each other, and the gun laws don't do a damn thing.
What are we going to do about letting these criminals out?
Well, I mean, your point has been for weeks that you got to hold the judges responsible, right? You got to do something about that. I don't know how you go about that. I mean, legally, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Oh, I know.
But you got to figure out a way to do that. I mean, I don't know if civil lawsuits and you go out, the families of these folks start going after them. You want something official, something legally that can be done. I don't know what that would be.
If you're not going to pass a law federally that will hold people accountable who are in the chain who allow these people back, whether it's a DA, okay, that like in our case here, we had a DA who was hired by George Soros to not prosecute crime.
Right.
That's let him go, Joe. And he was hired by George Soros to not go after criminals. Well, the same thing happened across the country.
Yeah.
In more than 30 DAs across America, they were hired by George Soros with the explicit instructions to do not prosecute crime, and that's what we've been dealing with. So if it's the DA that's on the take, and the DA is the one who is not prosecuting, or if it's a judge who has this repeat offender coming before them, again, I'll give you the statistic: 83% of those let out of jail go right back to violent crime, and even more violent. Okay, that's the key to this. You get out on a larceny charge or a robbery charge or whatever, chances are when you get let out, you're going to go do a murder or a rape or something more violent because your crime intensifies. It doesn't correct you. They're not. They call them correctional facilities. They're not correctional facilities.
If you routinely get let go, you pretty much figure you can do anything you want, right? You're not worried about what the reaction's going to be.
What I said last week was, if you're not going to pass a federal law of some kind holding these people accountable, then pass a state law and get the state legislature. You guys who feel my pain on this and feel that these guys should be locked up for good and put away for good, then let your state legislature know that, you need to pass a law that says you're going to be held accountable. If you let these guys back out and they go on and they reoffend, you're going to be held accountable for it.
I almost think you'd have to do it behind the scenes and find the prosecutor or the judges who have been specifically funded as far as their campaigns by these groups. And you can show a systemic plot, if you will, to let these people out, these repeat offenders. I don't know how you go after them individually. I think it almost would have to be a federal law of some kind to go after them because, you know what I mean? Because if you just start, I don't know how you do that because people would stop being judges, right? Nobody would ever aspire to be a judge of any kind if you felt that you could get busted if you let the same guy out too many times.
Why would they stop being judges when all they got to do is stop letting the bad guys out?
Yeah, but we're talking about a plot of some kind. We're talking about judges, even DAs, who are being specifically put in their positions to do this.
Right. So if that's the case, that would speak to them. Don't do it. Do not let these bad guys back out again over and over and over again. It's communicating to the judge or whomever's in the line, who could be a DA, that do your damn job, and your job is not to serve a Soros. It's not to let these guys back out. When you see a bad guy that appears before you, stop him from getting out before he shoots a toddler in Seattle or a 12-year-old on his bicycle in New York City. Do not let the guys back out. Don't turn them loose. Make sure that you hang on to them. And if it's a plot, then you're interrupting the plot by saying you're going to be held responsible. That interrupts the plot. That says to them, I'm going to hold you accountable regardless of what Soros or anybody else wants you to do. And as far as guys not being a judge, I don't know that's true, Sean, because all they got to do is stop the behavior. Then you can be a judge. And it's like, okay, I'll go be a judge. I'm just not going to let the bad guys go anymore.
Well, but again, the ones who are doing this, we suspect, are doing it specifically because they're being set up with large amounts of money to do just that.
Then you disrupt the plot.
Right.
If you hold them accountable.
How you actually do that.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is that if you can't do a federal law, let's appeal to our state legislators to pass a state law that we're going to hold you accountable if you let these bad guys go.
I guess my point is that the reason you may see people not pursue, judging and stuff is because, well, what if I let the same guy out twice based upon the circumstances of his case? Am I going to get arrested? You know what I mean? It might be chilling on the same system that we want to that we want to.
What happened about 35 or 40 years ago? We started to go soft on crime in America, and it's a big deal. You can watch the stats. You can read the books on it, how we just decided, okay, we're going to go soft on criminals. And it was a nationwide thing, just this sudden consciousness thing that appeared. And we started to let guys go, or we got to the point where we weren't putting them in the first place. I mean, hell, now we have law enforcement that don't arrest bad guys sometimes because it's not an arrestable offense. We have cities, and this one was going to try to be that, where you can go in and rob a market for $1,000 and walk on your crime. So we got soft on crime, and judges got soft on crime. We have overcrowding in the prisons. We can't have too many people in the prisons.
And a lot of it is towards the same ends, which is, twofold. First off, you want to create lots of chaos in the streets and bad crime rates so that people beg the government to rescue them. Even though when Donald Trump does it, it's a bad thing. Secondly, you want to appear that you care about certain communities that you believe end up in jail a lot. You want them to support you and vote for you, so you want these guys being let out. That's what the whole concept of prison reform, which is a joke, is all about.
And think about that for a minute.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm about to validate your point. Think about that for just a minute. You want to falsely say, I care about your community, so I'm going to let these people out. 12-year-olds are dying, and toddlers are being shot because of it, and you would rather have that happen? You would just because you want to appear like you're a grand
that's it,
goose
though,
to these
because
people?
You want votes, you want support. That's why they don't talk about black on black crime. That's why they don't want to acknowledge that's actually going on. Same reason.
Well, let me tell you about our friends over at Alamo Water Softeners. If your home is brand new or it's decades old, Alamo Water Softeners has a complete solution for better water around your place. It's called the All-in-One Bundle from Alamo Water Softeners. You get a premium water care water softener, reverse osmosis drinking water system. I'm drinking coffee from that reverse osmosis right now. Leak detection protection and a water heater. All of it comes together for you, and for qualified homeowners, you get 36 months of no interest financing. So this is a great thing for you. All you got to do is mention Trey Ware when you log on to alamowatersofteners.com. Check them out. I was their first customer in 2009. Nancy and I noticed when we installed that Alamo water softener in 2009, noticed immediately a change in our water quality at the warehouse. And over the years, we've had a couple of more units because the technology changes and all that. I love these folks. I love the technology. I love the quality of the water at the warehouse, and I know you will too. So check them out today. Book that analysis. They come out and they'll do a water analysis at no charge at all to you at alamowatersofteners.com. High in the upper 90s all week long. 75 now, KTSA.
Good morning. Working a couple of stalls.
All right. 721 KTSA, Ware and Rima.
Well, again, I'm sure you guys hit this, but Fauci's going to be testifying on Wednesday before this Homeland Security hearing at the Senate. Rand Paul is beckoning him or imploring him, subpoenaing him, which probably isn't a word, to testify. Meanwhile, he released all these diary entries during COVID, which are darkly funny to read because it sort of establishes what you and I have always said about Dr. Fauci, in that, first off, a lot of the crap he was putting out there was bad science, and he knew it at the time, but also that he freaking enjoyed, he loved the snot out of the celebrity being afforded to him. Press still hot and heavy about me. Multiple stories per day, directly or indirectly, involving me. You look at how many people lost their lives, and we don't, we say 7 million, but we don't really know exactly how many people died as a result globally. And this guy is a fame whore. That's all he ever was. Again, he was putting out information that we know about the masking, about social distancing, that we knew was bullcrap practically at the time that it was going on. You and I used to talk about it. And you read these diary entries where, he's having dinner on a regular basis with Jake Tapper, and at some point gets pissed off at him about some coverage he didn't think was appropriate or whatever, and called him up. He's interacting with the media. We just had to sit through this noxious bullcrap on Friday with these people. And meanwhile, during, a global pandemic, people who are supposed to be covering this thing objectively, and of course that's a silly word to use in reference to what they do at this point, but they're having dinner with the guy. The guy is meeting Julia Roberts. He's a famous guy. Again, I don't know if you probably hit this already, but, I'm reading this stuff last week going, man, what he now talk about somebody who belongs in an international cage. We've been talking about Mandami wanting to arrest Netanyahu on international war crimes. But here's a guy who really, 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 truly should be in a cage for crimes against humanity, in my opinion.
Well, let me go through some of this because Rand Paul actually put this out yesterday afternoon, and I can go through some more, build on what you just said. Quote, I'm the most famous and most talked about person in the country.
Yeah.
Trump is enamored of me. So much so that the Secret Service waves me through without checking. I have been contacted by Dancing with the Stars. They want me to appear on Dancing with the Stars. What we did bring up last week, what broke last week, was that they knew it was a lab leak, that it did not cross over from bats into humans. That whole thing, which we have talked about over and over again, that was the Wuhan flu. They knew it. There was 3 researchers who wrote The Origins of COVID-19. And when they wrote that, they were what they wrote was it jumped from a bat into a human, but their emails have now been exposed. And that came out last Wednesday, and it said that behind the scenes they're going, no, it was a lab leak.
They knew it. But they knew it all along.
But I have here Dana Bash and Anthony Fauci emailing each other and her saying, I'm going to set you up perfectly. Fauci gets his own action figure. He's dressed like Superman. This is all from his own diary.
Right. It's pathetic.
All of a sudden, Elon Musk has started to viciously attack me with tweets on Twitter. This one's interesting. Some people have a St. Christopher medal. My daughter gave me a Dr. Fauci, and it's Dr. Fauci with his hands crossed in a praying motion, the patron saint of public health, and it's a medal like a St. Christopher's medal.
Like
And then you've got, this is all in his diary, folks, then you've got Ron DeSantis as the Grim Reaper and Dr. Fauci as this very muscular, strong guy holding the physician's pole, the snake pole. And then also from his diary, here's all these pictures, and this is a collage of people wearing the Anthony Fauci T-shirt. So he actually wore or had these pictures. And then, of course, let's go to his famous appearances on TV.
You are.
This is Dana Bash.
Seen to many as a superhero, but you are a human being, and you've been working nonstop since all of this began, communicating with the public, trying to get a handle on this pandemic in terms of the science. So how do you keep yourself going in the face of all
God,
of this
it's
death
so
and disease?
disgusting.
Now, this is in his own diary, and by the way, that was December of 2020. That was in his diary that she sent him an email, and the email's in there saying, I'm going to set you up as this great superhero. But she wasn't the only one. April of 2021, Joe, Morning Joe.
Anthony Fauci, American hero and New York Yankee fan, a riddle wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a mystery.
Oh, God.
Thank you so much.
Well, what's fascinating is when you play those audio clips, okay, what you realize from these diary entries is that he was working with these people behind the scenes to set up these interviews, to set all this stuff up. He's also got an ego larger than the clips is practically Donald Trump's. He's got merch. A guy who fights infectious diseases that we look to for information has freaking merch, man.
He planned all of this because what 85-year-old man do you know that keeps a diary?
Well, if he did plan that, it was incredibly stupid to write that crap down, man.
And we got to go. I got to tell you about our friends over at Quarter Moon. At Quarter Moon, AC and plumbing, they are the good guys to take care of all of your AC and your plumbing needs, no matter what they are. 210-651-5899. That's 210-651-5899. At Quarter Moon, they'll get right to you. We're talking about highs this week, all in the upper 90s. We got this, what's called a heat dome, a high-pressure system that's going to settle over us. And when it does, the temperatures are going to stay high all week long, and that means your AC is going to be working harder than it has probably in years, or at least several months anyway, to keep you nice and cool in your own home. Well, with Quarter Moon on speed dial, I got them down as number one in my cell phone. You don't have to worry about it because they got a rapid response team that get right out to you. But I do recommend also that you have them do regular maintenance on your AC system. They come in, they flush it all out, clean out all the lines, they vacuum out the system itself, they look at the capacitors to make sure the electronic transfer is going to work. Everything is up to snuff and working great with Quarter Moon. If you ever have a plumbing issue too, you notice a leaky faucet, or maybe the water heater's not working like it used to, you don't have to fret, don't have to worry. Of course, it's a headache, but, man, it doesn't have to ruin your whole day. Just call Quarter Moon. They'll get right out to you. More than 43 years in business in South Texas. The good guys at Quarter Moon, 210-651-5899.
News Talk 5.
Poly Market a little bit ago, and Zohan Mamdani is beating President Trump for Times Person of the Year. So that's going to be coming out very, very soon. And a talk show host yesterday on Fox and Friends who let into Mr. Mamdani.
People are very nice people, but trying to talk to Mayor Mamdani is like trying to talk to the IRGC, okay? This guy is a terrorist. That's the bottom line. I'll say it. You don't want to say it. I'll say it. He's a terrorist. He's a jihadist. He hates the Jewish people. He hates America. He hates the Italian people. He hates the Irish people. He hates the German people. Unless you're Muslim, Mayor Mamdani has no use for you. He is a horrible person and maybe has perpetrated the worst American and Jewish hate in the history of this country. Those two people stabbed the other day in the Upper Side of New York City, that blood is on his hands. That blood is on your hands, Mayor Mamdani. We got to find a way to get this guy out of here. Maybe Dr. Naomi Wolf is right. Maybe that election wasn't what it looked like on paper. Maybe he really didn't win. But either way, this guy is the worst thing to happen to New York politics, maybe in the history of our state. He's a lowlife.
I mean, I think you may be a bit over your skis in labeling him a terrorist, and you're probably going to get flagged for that.
Why? Let me
ask you this, because New Yorkers elected this guy.
Who cares?
They knew everything about him before. Like, this is predictable. You talked about predictability. This is a predictable.
Griff, let me ask you this. The Hamas guys that are in Qatar right now, they've never put on an explosive vest. They've never shot anybody. Would you consider those guys terrorists? Because I would. Okay, so his ideologies are in line with the terrorists. Mahmoud Khalil is a campus terrorist. You don't have to kill somebody to be a terrorist. You have to share the ideology. That's what this guy is. He's no better than the person who actually goes and shoots somebody.
That's Sid Rosenberg, who is a talk show host in New York. Now, they wrapped it up a little bit later on. I just want everybody to hear how Fox News and Griff Jenkins cleared things up later.
No, I know. Listen, I can't speak for them. I'm not going to apologize for them. Quite frankly, they disgust me. The liberal Jew today is every bit as much of a problem as the terrorist out there trying to kill the Jews. The liberal Jew is a huge problem in this country.
Sid, thank you for being here. Always exciting. We know there are a lot of heated feelings around this war, and last hour, while discussing the role anti-Israel sentiment is playing in the rise of anti-Semitism, one of our guests labeled New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani as a, quote, terrorist. Now, that word carries an extremely serious meaning and should not be used freely, and it's important we distinguish between strong political criticism and factual allegations.
So he got ABC'd The Viewed. The attorneys reached over there and wrote that thing for the teleprompter for Griff to read. I spent last week talking about Mamdani every day because he did that nonsense of arresting Benjamin Netanyahu, which we'll hear from in just a second. But and I said at the beginning of the week, there's two things that he had working there was the ICC, the International Criminal Court, which he wants to supersede the Constitution. All communists want to get rid of the Constitution. I talked about their little workshop that they did to replace the Constitution, how to do that. So one of the main reasons, or one of the main ways you do that is you have the International Criminal Court come in and supplant the Constitution, start arresting our guys, not only our politicians, but our men and women in the military, which is what Mamdani wants to have happen. The other thing is clear. He is dog whistling to somebody out there. Hey, he knew he was not going to be able to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, but he was dog whistling. Hey, he's going to be here in September. He's going to be here in September in New York City, y'all. And then he came on and he said, he's not welcome in New York City. He's not welcome here. What's he trying to communicate?
I did throw out a video last week about that when he said he was going to arrest, he knew, absolutely he knew when he said it that he couldn't do it. Netanyahu was on Fox yesterday, too, and he basically said the same thing this guy said without using the T word, that, Mamdani is not the mayor, obviously, of all New Yorkers, that he hates the Jews, and this hyped-up rhetoric against him personally and against the state of Israel is what directly led to that guy that stabbed the Jewish guy and the other guy in New York City. It was the day after. I mean, Netanyahu was talking about that, and he's absolutely right. I mean, it is dog whistling. I don't see how you put it any other way.
Every morning last week, Sean, that's what I talked about. I brought it up every morning because that's exactly what he was doing. He was inciting, and I even brought up Charlie Kirk.
Right.
When they found, and that was just introduced into evidence the week before, last, and they had it inscribed on that on those shell casings, the words of left-wing thought leaders are inscribed.
Words on bullets,
Same,
baby.
same thing in Dallas. And the guy who tried to light the ICE headquarters on fire in New York had all the anti-ICE signage, and those words that are on those signs, anti-ICE words, are from the left-wing thought leaders like Mamdani. He knew what he was doing. He knew the result he was trying to get out of that. I'm with this guy. I don't call him a terrorist, but you know what? You don't have to actually fly a plane into a building to share the terrorist ideology.
Well,
the guy's right on that.
Well, I agree, and especially if you're involved in this kind of rhetoric, okay, you're hoping somebody takes that rhetoric, seriously and tries to kill somebody, which is already or maybe you're successful in killing somebody. I thought it was interesting also how Netanyahu said that the prosecutor from the ICC that first started floating this idea of arresting him for war crimes himself was facing some pretty bad charges at the time from a couple of female employees.
Or pedophilia or some sort of sex crimes and all that.
Like, right around that time,
all
this guy's about to get charged with this stuff.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu said yesterday on Fox that obviously it was a distraction to focus on me in Israel.
He was throwing shade on Netanyahu. In fact, let me play that because I went and got it this morning. I want everybody to hear this.
So, Prime Minister, you just heard what Zohran Mamdani had to say. He's calling you a war criminal. You're not welcome in New York City. We, of course, also heard from President Trump on this and many others who said this is absolutely not happening. But what are your plans? Are you still going to come to the UN General Assembly? Are you concerned about coming to New York?
No, I'm not concerned, and I certainly intend to do so. I've appeared just about every year, not every year, but almost every year in my prime ministership, unless there are security conditions. But barring that, and I don't expect that to be the case this time, yes, I do intend to come to New York.
This guy has been in numerous wars for Israel. He lost his brother in an Israeli war. I think it was a 6-day war. I'll have to check on that. But he lost his brother fighting for the nation of Israel. If you think for one moment some little pipsqueak Jew hater in New York is going to stop him from showing up, you better rethink. Come on.
Mamdani, yeah, I agree. He's a radical Islamic guy, and he hates the Jews, but he's also a smarmy a-hole. Just that, and you ain't gonna rattle the cage of a guy like Netanyahu. And he said, no, I'll be here next week. I'm not gonna not go to New York because of this guy. And, I don't know who Mamdani thinks he's fooling if he thinks he can rattle the cage of a guy like Benjamin Netanyahu, but it ain't going to happen.
He's just trying to gaslight, dog whistle.
He also talked about Iran, and what's going to happen there in Lebanon and stuff like that. Again, we mentioned this earlier in the day. We'll probably get back to it as far as where we are with Iran. But, I thought Netanyahu, he's a badass. And you're not going to shake that guy, man. Yeah, but you know what, Mamdani, again, he knew it when he said it. He knew it when he said it that he can't actually arrest the man on international crime. So obviously, if you're saying a thing that you know you can't do, you're doing it for some other reason.
Yeah.
Okay, and that reason is either to get people to act violently towards the Jews because you're calling the leader of their country you're calling him a genocidal dictator, basically. You obviously want people to attack the Jews, or you're also doing it because you want to, whomever your support base is, or your source of money, or whatever, you want to make them happy as well. But, point being, he knew it absolutely when he said it. He couldn't do it.
Quick break, more Ware and Rima coming up. At River City Oral Surgery, they can do these full-mouth dental implants that you see so many different places advertise. And, the deal is they're not like anybody else. Dr. Havercorn started River City Oral Surgery to be honest and transparent. So he posts his prices and procedures right online. And anybody can go to rivercityoms.com and see those prices and those procedures. And you know what? That's the price you're going to pay when you show up to have your procedure done and get those full mouth dental implants done. There's no games and gimmicks. They're not going to take you into another room and try to upsell you and you got to buy this now and buy that later. That's not going to be the deal over there. They want to get you a beautiful smile that's going to work great for you too. And if you got infection in your mouth, you want to clear all that out as well, and they'll do that too. About 60% of heart issues start in the mouth and with infection there. You clear all that out, and you can be in better condition with your heart as well. They're amazing people over at RiverCityOMS.com. They're ready to take care of you, your full mouth dental implants, wisdom teeth removal, missing or broken teeth, whatever you got going on. They're ready to handle it for you at RiverCityOMS.com. AccuWeather hot, upper 90s all week, 75 now, KTSA.
But I do think it was kind of interesting hearing some of the coverage, and because this wasn't just the ABC story that I heard. I've heard this in from a few other outlets where they just conveniently leave the Islamic factor out of the Berlin attack on this gay festival.
Well,
it's amazing.
The reason for that, and they all did it yesterday, the reason for that is the narrative they want out there is this had to be some Christian religious zealot who did this to gays.
He's mad.
He's mad at the gays, and he wanted to mow down a bunch of gays. So this had to be some sort of Christian religious guy. Turned out to be completely the opposite. Another radical Islamist running his car into a crowd of people. 29 got injured. And so, yeah, that's the message they want out there. They don't want it out there that it's going to be a radical Islamist. No, we wouldn't
it's
do
not
that.
Islam. No.
So it had to be a nut job Christian. That's why they conveniently leave it out.
Yeah,
Look,
they do.
look,
It's amazing. I heard it driving in this morning. I'm like, you just left out of the story that the guy was basically ISIS.
The media is not just lying to you by commission. They lie to you by omission as well. And that's it right there.
Oh, yeah. The other story, and I don't know if this story broke last week or if you guys talked about it, but in Minnesota, they're using taxpayer dollars to give kids paper dolls that are a first-of-their-kind multi-sex doll. I think it's going to go to kids as young as kindergarten and first grade. And literally, they're paper dolls that have removable internal and external genitals. You can actually, did you see this? They can remove their parts so that, we can teach the little boogers that, you can be whoever you want to be. Taxpayer-funded program in Minnesota schools, again, which would give tranny dolls, essentially, to little tiny kids. I'm so glad I'm not a kid now. I'm so glad I'm not a young person in this world.
For decades, the government school system has been used to program kids' brains.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And this is another prime example. It's Tim Walz's money. It's not his money. It's taxpayer money, but this is his program. Came through his hands, designed specifically, and they're as young as 4 years old to get into their heads at 4 years old and say, you know what? You may have a penis, but you can take that off at some point because the doll did it. So you can take your penis off at some point and become the opposite gender, which is obviously their way of programming the brains of a 4-year-old, but also their way of validating a lie. It's a lie.
But you're also normalizing the idea that you want people to believe in absurdities. If you could tell somebody a stupid and absurd thing and get them to agree to it, you already control them. They want to control them from the time they're little kids with this stuff. It's really what's at play here. They're normalizing the idea of accepting something as true that you probably know inside your head isn't true. Now, these are little kids.
They don't know it.
They don't know it. You're right. You're trying to get there before they're able to reason it out on their own.
We got a break, but there are two groups of people who believe in the tranny stuff. The mentally insane. I'm talking about the ones who actually believe you can change. The mentally insane and children who are programmed that way by the adults in the room. More Ware and Rima coming up. KTSA.
Nigel.
We know that people who are not citizens vote in our elections. We know that.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Of course, the Democrats will tell you either A, it's not happening, and then when we bring the receipts and show that it does happen, well, it's not that big of a deal, okay? It's not that big, so why are you worried about it? And so the politicians in this country made a conscious decision that they were going to crap can the most important piece of legislation that's come along in our lifetimes, and we're talking about the Save America Act, because it protects the legitimacy of our elections, which is one thing that they're trying to actually attack. This is bigger than just allowing those who are not citizens to vote in our elections, which is something that the Democrats want to do, and yes, the Rhino Republicans want non-citizens to vote because Donald Trump then is neutered for the remainder of his term. But it's also attacking the legitimacy of our elections. You have a question in the back of your mind. This is not legitimate because people who are not citizens of this country are allowed to vote in our elections. Thereby, what they're attempting to do is crap can the entire system using these communists that are now coming to power. Hey, look, we just need to go with a different system because the one you have doesn't work. Now, Maggie Brennan on Face the Nation, she's a grand B word, but she's also a far leftist, and she doesn't try to hide it. She's got a new pose. I don't know if you guys watched. Did you watch her yesterday? Anybody watch her yesterday?
No, I was
okay.
No.
She's leaning over. She's got a new
pose. Oh, the way she appears on screen.
Yeah, she's leaning over, her hands on her hips, and she's using two fingers to point at John Kennedy. And now that's her new thing. So I just want to play for you what the conversation was between John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, and Maggie Brennan concerning this.
You said you wanted to move forward on what the House just started the process on. That would be a party line.
Ma'am.
That would be a party line vote. That would be Republicans jamming this thing through. And the SAVE Act, as you know, or even some version of it, is highly partisan, highly controversial. Bigger picture, isn't it going to hurt faith in our election process if a Republican-only policy to change how elections are run is rammed through 100 days, less than 100 days out from the election?
Now listen to the way she said that. She said the direct opposite of reality.
Well, yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah,
not passing it is what's going to cause questions in people's minds about our election. Here's Kennedy.
No. In my opinion, for both sides to have credibility in the elections, in our elections, we need to do two things and only two things. Number one, you have to prove you are who you say you are in order to register to vote and to vote. And number two, however you decide to vote, that's up to the states. We need to go back to having an election day, not an election month. We've got to know the results of the election that night or shortly thereafter if it's close. That, to me, is what the SAVE Act is all about. And I think we can pass it, and I think we can craft it in a way to survive a bird bath.
So what she is saying is if you do pass this, because it's going to pass on party lines, then elections will not be legitimate. That's directly the opposite of what will happen from this legislation passing.
Yeah, it's like arguing that water isn't wet. I mean, you're basically she's saying that when people see this legislation passed by Republicans only, then they won't trust the elections because they think they're being corrupted by Republicans. Again, it's a nonsensical argument, and everything she said, the truth is really the exact opposite. I mean, again, look at the stats as far as how people think about this. I mean, nobody is really seriously saying that somehow you're going to disenfranchise voters by requiring them to prove that they can vote. I'm sure you guys talked about New Jersey last week and the voter rolls out there and all the non-citizens that were voting in elections. So, it's a ridiculous argument. It doesn't make any sense at all.
We did talk about New Jersey last week. I'm going to do it again because I got some news concerning New Jersey. But bottom line is, and I went through this last week too, Sean, because I looked at the law carefully. No one is going to be disenfranchised other than those who are not citizens because, and here's why. If you are registered, you don't have to re-register. You're registered. That's number one. So this whole fallacy of all these people are going to be kicked off the voter rolls, the only people who are going to be kicked off the voter rolls are non-citizens who vote Democrat. Those are the ones that, and that's why Alyssa Slotkin and the others have been coming out lately and saying Democrats can't win if this passes. There's no way we can win because they lose their constituency.
Think about that for a second.
Also, if you go to the polls and you have not shown who you are as a citizen, you can still cast your vote. You sign an affidavit, and that affidavit says, I'm a citizen of the United States. Your vote is recorded, and then they check.
Yeah, if you lie,
and they check to see if you are a citizen because you signed that piece of paper saying that you are. And if you are a citizen, your vote is recorded. So they have your vote ready to go. All they got to do is check your citizenship after you sign that affidavit at the polling place. So nobody, zero, no one is turned away. The only thing that could happen to you is your vote is ultimately rejected if it is found that you are not a citizen of this country. Now, what happened in New Jersey was 6,600 were registered, and I went through this quite a bit last week, where the company, IDEMIA, is the company that was doing the motor voter thing. They do motor voter and they do TSA at airports. And in the motor voter thing, when somebody would sign up to get a license, they were asked, are you a citizen of this country? 6,600 of them said no. IDEMIA sent that information to New Jersey. And they told New Jersey, 6,600 of these people said they are not citizens, thereby do not register them. Well, New Jersey went ahead and registered them anyway. Went ahead and said, no, even we knew it. We knew you weren't a citizen, but we went ahead and registered you anyway. The problem was not, as Mikey Sherrill said, the problem was not with the software company, IDEMIA. The problem was in New Jersey. They were illegally registering people. New Jersey, they're the ones who broke the law. Come to
but
find
that's
out,
not going on.
right. And come to find out, it's not 6,600. They've got 35,000 non-citizens in New Jersey alone. And the last several elections were decided in New Jersey by 10 votes or less.
Well, think about that. And plus, you can just eyeball the state. It's a tiny little state. It's not a big population state like California or even Texas or even New York, for that matter. And so that amount of voters, if it only took 10 to sway an election, 33,000, is that what you said?
35,000
people
illegally registered
to vote. I mean, yeah, that can obviously have an impact on an election.
282,000 nationwide.
Right.
So
but that's not happening.
But if you take that 10 and you move it across 50 states, okay, so you can do the math on that. You can figure out how many votes nationwide it takes. It's infinitesimal.
Right.
To sway an election, it's nothing. And yet, when you look at 280,000 who are registered illegally in this country, according to our intel agencies, that's going to blow an election wide open. That could change every election.
Well, absolutely it would. And again, you know, the only reason you would be fighting a way to stop that is because, as they say, we can't win elections unless we cheat. I mean, you're hearing that more and more, aren't you? From certain Democrats are saying that. We can't win an election with the Save America Act. Wrap your mind around that for a second. What they're claiming is they can't actually sell their own platform to anybody on its own merits, which, of course, they can't. When you talk about open borders and getting rid of prisons, getting rid of the Senate, all this stuff, the trans stuff, you can't sell that to somebody as an argument, so you have to cheat.
And I don't blame them because that's their position. That's who they are, right? We know that about them.
Well,
so
yeah.
Let them own that. The ones I blame are the Rhino Republicans like the John Cornyn's of the world and the Tom Tillis's of the world and the Lisa Murkowski's of the world and those who have such incredible Trump derangement syndrome that they are willing to forge an election here, and I do mean fraudulently forge an election here, just to get at President Trump and neuter him for the remainder of his term in office. That's why they're doing it, and they're the ones who are responsible. If those Rhino Republicans would get on board with this, it could pass tomorrow.
Well, I think it's partially because they hate Donald Trump, like a lot of establishment folks hate his guts just because he exists, but something that you and I have talked about before, which is they'd rather be on the defense. They'd rather be the guys pointing the fingers and saying, see, they're messing this up, they're doing this wrong,
well,
we got to fight this, so you got to reelect me.
In the case of these rhinos, many of them are leaving. So it's Tom Tillis is out, John Cornyn's out. They're out anyway, so they don't care about that. What they care about, really, these rhinos, is getting at – they hate him. They hate him with a white-hot hate.
Yeah, but don't you think they want to just they want to maintain the status quo? Even the younger people that are coming in that aren't retiring. I mean, they want to just keep it the way it is.
Well, they're the
obviously.
ones. These older guys that are leaving, they're the ones who are standing in the way.
No.
Murkowski's
Oh,
staying.
yeah.
Susan Collins is staying. But like Tillis is gone. Cornyn is gone.
Right, true.
McConnell's probably already gone. I think this picture out of the hospital is a load of crap. Okay, so he's probably already gone, and I don't know if that means he's dead or what. I have no idea what's going on with Mitch McConnell. But these guys are trying to get at Donald Trump because they hate him, and they could pass this thing right away. Again, the House passed it 4 times and sent it over to the Senate, and the Senate is going to take off August. This week, they're going to take off the entire month, and you still do not have legitimate elections in this country. And that's the overarching issue here. It's not just the fact that people who aren't citizens vote in our elections. The overarching message is this is an attack on our system. Our system is not legitimate. Don't even go vote, because what the hell is the purpose of voting? It's not legitimate.
A lot of it's psychological.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't want people, if people believe the elections are fraudulent, they're not going to bother to go out. I mean, we've dealt with that here in this town to a certain extent.
It's horrible. Absolutely horrible what they're doing. More Ware and Rima coming up. KTSA, hot upper 90s all week. Right now, 77 KTSA. John Thune should not allow the United States Senate to leave town until it passes the Save America Act, or, far better still, terminates the filibuster, where Republicans can then quickly pass everything they ever dreamed of, including a full and deep-throated Save America Act, the budget, and ever-looming debt ceiling disaster 1929. The Democrats will do it on day one and can't believe how lucky they got with this Senate leadership. Remember, stupidity always brings losing and death. President DJT.
No, I don't disagree with the thing he said.
Nope.
This is important
just put that up
stuff, man.
now.
Just now. I want to cycle back around to Friday night. We had talked about this very early on in the show, and we had this redo of the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Friday night. Starts off with Wolf Blitzer handing out a bunch of awards to individual reporters and the Wall Street Journal and newspaper, news groups, news providers. Pretty much everyone who got an award won it for something negative about Trump. There was the guy who took the picture when the guy passed out in the Oval Office and Trump is standing. Wolf Blitzer is, 5 feet from Donald Trump. He's saying this picture says I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. Donald Trump, standing rigid like the statue, and yet all these people over here are helping this guy, And it was really kind of cringy. It really was. Mm-hmm. But then Donald Trump got up. It went on for about an hour and 4 minutes. And I agree with Elaine. I thought he kind of tanked. I didn't think it was a great speech. I thought he had some great lines. I don't know what I was expecting. I said in the first hour, it felt like being at a family reunion where everybody hates everybody's guts. And they hate each other so much they're not hiding it anymore, and you just want to get the hell out of there. I found the whole night to be cringy. Even Oz the Mentalist is like, he's got this look in his eye like, holy God, I got to follow this crap. It was just, I get it that, you know what? The people in that room deserved every insult that Donald Trump flung at them, but it just didn't carry off. He just didn't land that stuff. And he felt like a comedian who's trying to be funny that knows he's not being funny, and he has to keep going on. Trump even acknowledged about 2/3 of the way in that it was a crappy written speech and the jokes were crappy. It just, I found it very uncomfortable. I wanted it to be over. And after what happened in April, now I know I'm expecting too much of everybody in that room, but even if they're going to be jerks and give out these awards for all the anti-Trump propaganda and all that happy crap, he could have, in a sense, risen above that. I know people don't like that because they're like, well, they deserve it. It's like, I get it. But sometimes the best way to make an a-hole look like an a-hole is to just let them be the a-hole, and you choose not to be the a-hole. Doesn't mean he couldn't have done the zingers, but it was really artless, and it was really long, and the timing was horrible, and he felt like he didn't exactly – it didn't even sound like he himself wanted to be there doing it. He talked a lot about the speech he was going to give and how off it was, how insulting it was going to be. And yet he was pretty freaking insulting during this thing. But it just felt off the whole way through. And I was just really glad when it was over. And I thought it was actually kind of a horrible redo, if you will, of what might have happened that night had there not been an assassination attempt.
The whole thing stunk.
Yeah, it really did.
From beginning to end, it was below the presidency of the United States. I think if he got a redo on the redo, he probably wouldn't do it the same way. I don't know. Maybe he would, but, it really was not his finest moment. It wasn't the finest moment of any of them.
No.
But like I told you this morning when we started this, I have felt that way about these dinners now for decades. Because these people are hired actors by special interest. Some of them are hired by foreign countries. Some of them are paid.
Yeah.
Huh?
China.
That's right. Some of them are paid by special interests such as Big Pharma. Some of them have money coming in from other special interests. And their whole job is to put out a message that is patently, blatantly anti-American, number one, and number two, anti-Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
ABC hired an entire division of people, 75 people, to do exactly that. So when I look at all of them, there's not one of them there, as far as just my opinion, there's not one of them there worth saving, as far as I'm concerned. They all have that agenda. They're on the take. They are paid actors. They are there to express propaganda for a story they want told or their masters want told. None of them are journalists in the classic sense and definition of a journalist. They're not. None
Well,
of them.
yeah, even handing the award to the Wall Street Journal for the Epstein thing, it's like, we already know it's crap. We already know that. You're giving the man an award simply to get at Donald Trump, who is sitting there right next to you. There was no reality to it, to anything that Wolf Blitzer did as far as handing out the awards. There was no reality to it. Nobody actually earned anything. They were getting shiny little statues because they routinely attack the president, and they do it by abandoning the truth, absolutely. And everybody knew it that's watching it. And again, I don't...
Here's an example. I hate to interrupt,
No, you're fine.
but here's an example. You brought this up earlier. The guy who in Berlin rammed the car through the homosexuals and killed a couple of them and injured 29 of them, the American media is conveniently leaving out that he was a radical Islamist.
Yeah, absolutely they are. They've left it out of the story. I was driving in, I heard an ABC story. The fact that this guy had tried to join ISIS on multiple occasions was conveniently left out of the story. So all of those people in the room are full of crap, obviously. And but again, I don't think Trump rose to the occasion. And maybe, it's one of those dealios, you and I doing what we do, you know how it is when you're all pumped up to do an event and then it gets canceled or rescheduled at the last minute, so you have to go and do it again, weeks later. It's, you're always a little off. For me, and again, I was probably expecting way too much. But after the fact that there was an assassination attempt, and not just on Trump, but on his cabinet as well, when they tried to do this thing in April, there was very little, and I'm not expecting unity with these people at all. They hate each other's guts. But there was very little. I mean, at the very beginning, they acknowledged the Secret Service, and I thought that was good. And they, gave their little applause and stuff and all that. But had he gotten up there and been soaring, in a sense, a little more poetic as far as whoever was writing this crap for him, about a free press, about freedom in general, and about political violence, and maybe held off on, it just felt like he was throwing the insults out there to make himself feel better or to make himself feel like a badass, even though he acknowledged that it wasn't a very good script and it wasn't a very good speech, and the jokes themselves weren't very well written. I mean, 2/3 of the way in, he acknowledged that crap.
We are Ware and Rima. More in just a minute. I'll tell you about our friends at Alamo Water Softeners. First customer here of Alamo Water Softeners in 2009. And we noticed an immediate improvement of the water quality at the warehouse with our Alamo Water Softener. Once it was in line and once it was on, you could tell the difference right away. That's why I recommend Alamo Water Softeners to everybody I know, including you. I want you to check them out with the all-in-one home bundle. Now, this is going to get you a premium water care water softener from Alamo Water Softeners, a reverse osmosis drinking water system which removes the impurities and really makes your water taste great, leak detection protection, and a water heater. All of this combined together to help protect your home and improve your family's water quality. And that's what's super important. That's where it starts right there, is taking care of your family, making sure they have the highest quality water that's available. And that comes through having these systems from Alamo Water Softeners. The all-in-one home bundle. It's better water, it's better protection, and it's one affordable monthly payment. In fact, qualified homeowners get 36 months, 0% financing. So you can get your all-in-one bundle now and use their money for the next 36 months to enjoy it at alamowatersofteners.com.
Guests of Ware and Rima appear via the Stevens Roofing Newsmaker Hotline.
Health insurance decisions.
All right, it's 8:35. We're in Rima, KTSA. Anthony Fauci. A diary has been released by Senator Rand Paul. Anthony Fauci will be under oath this coming Wednesday, although oath doesn't matter to the man because he lies every time he gets in front of Congress. His diary says he privately put COVID's fatality rate at 0.2 to 0.3%. That's what he wrote to himself in his diary. But then he went under oath to Congress and said it was 10 times what the flu was. February 8th, 2020, in his private diary, he said this is him writing to himself, that the fatality rate was like 0.2 or 0.3%. March 10th, that was February 8th. March 10th, he goes on Hannity. The mortality rate is 2.5%. Probably it's got to be 10% more lethal than the seasonal flu. Keep in mind, at that time, nobody died of the flu. There were no flu deaths once COVID hit because suddenly everything was COVID. Of course, people were dying of the flu, but they coded everything. They also played with the numbers and fudged the numbers by saying somebody died of COVID when in reality it was the heart attack that killed them because they had COVID at the same time. They told the public it was COVID that killed them when it was actually the heart attack.
Right.
March 11th, he was under oath. I swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. He said the stated fatality rate of this overall is about 3%. If you count all the cases of asymptomatic infection, that probably brings the mortality down to 1%, which means it's 10 times more deadly than the seasonal flu. That was March 11th of that year, 2020. March 27th, he was on The Daily Show. The mortality rate is about 10 times the flu. But he was writing to himself in his own diary, you know what, it's not that bad. Now, if you go back to 2004 and listen to Anthony Fauci in 2004, he said something that he totally disavowed when the pandemic hit in 2019, 2020, 2021. He totally disavowed this. And Rand Paul asked him specifically about, if you remember, the best vaccination you can get is being infected yourself.
Right.
Right?
Natural immunity.
Natural immunity. And he said, now you got to get the shot. In 2004, this was Anthony Fauci.
She got the flu for 14 days. She's as protected as anybody can be because the best vaccination is to get infected yourself.
Vaccines are highly efficacious. They are better than the traditional response you get from natural infection.
So that happened in May of 2021. Here's December 3rd of 2020.
The estimate is that you'll need about 70%, maybe 75% of the people in the country vaccinating to get that umbrella of herd immunity.
Let's say
this is December 9th, 2020.
We get 75%, 80% of the population vaccinated. I say between 75 and 85% of the population. The number.
So in 2004, Anthony Fauci said the best vaccination that you could ever possibly have is herd immunity, which comes through natural immunity.
Right.
Natural, you
That's
go get
design.
it. Before we had any shot, when we were kids, our parents had chicken pox parties.
Sure.
That's how we got it. If a kid up the street got the mumps, we all went to that kid's house. The moms had coffee, and we played with the kid, and we got it. That's how we got it. It's called natural immunity. Although he would tell Rand Paul, no, natural immunity is the worst thing you could possibly do. Here he is with Jake Tapper,
whom he had a real cozy relationship with for a long time.
In the diaries, he talks about how he would go over and have dinner with Jake Tapper, and they would set up the interview because Tapper would tell him, I don't want the interview to cause problems or make you look bad. Here they are on CNN.
Ideological rigidity, I think. There's no reason not to get vaccinated. Why are we having red states and places in the South that are very highly ideological in one way, not wanting to get vaccinations? Vaccinations have nothing to do with politics. It's a public health issue. It doesn't matter who you are.
Boy, he sure changed his tune.
Well, he did, though, but we have another example where he did that because we talked about it at the time when this all first started breaking. Because first off, it's kind of interesting, the idea that it's not as bad as roughly about the same as the flu, because that's what Donald Trump was saying initially. But the mask thing, okay, Fauci originally said, don't get the masks because it encourages you to touch your face, and touching your face is how you spread it. And then at some point, it became all about the masks.
Because
remember that?
Because COVID was all about control.
Well, sure.
It was about making billions of dollars, which those people made billions and billions of dollars off of U.S. taxpayers. It was about crapping all over the 2020 election, and China was heavily involved in that. But it was also about total control. They wanted you to be so scared spitless, where you would go get a needle in your – I'm so sorry I ever took it. I'm so sorry. I had to take it because we had to travel at the time, but I'm so sorry I ever took this stuff because now we're finding out. I don't know if you've seen the long cords that they're pulling out of cadavers now.
Oh, I did see something about that. Yeah.
You did see this?
Yeah, just briefly. I didn't read into it, but I saw it.
Well, guys, MEs are doing autopsies on people that got the vaccinations, and they're pulling out these long worm-like white things that were not there before we had this vaccine done. So here is Rand Paul talking about and by the way, Fauci's going to be, again, he's going to be under oath on Wednesday.
Is it too vague to say, I'm going to prosecute you for, not prosecute you and pardon you for anything you did in the last 10 years? I think there's a possibility the court says that's vague and not specific, and you can't give people some kind of pardon for everything and over such a long period of time. I think there's a chance we'd win that. I think it ought to be fought. We have two clear-cut cases against him, lying to Congress, which is a felony, but also destroying public records. We now have emails that he distributed to Francis Collins and others saying, hey, read this and then destroy it. That is against the law.
You cannot say, read this and then destroy it. We also have the people who wrote, this came out last week, the people who wrote the 2019-2020 paper that said the origins of COV2 was this. And they said it was a monkey or a bat who bit a human. And that's how it got started. But behind the scenes, they were writing private emails to each other saying, oh, no, it was created in the lab in Wuhan.
Oh, sure.
And what he was saying in public was completely different than what he was saying privately to himself in his own journals.
We've already seen email communications from these folks, from he and his own staff, where he is laughing, in a sense, about the fact that he's able to get people to do what he wants them to do. I think a lot of this was about apart from large, vast amounts of money and big pharma and all that, which I absolutely believe. China, I think it had a lot to do with Trump and China. But also the idea that you could tell people what to do and they will do it if they have enough fear going.
We knew at the time, and we talked about it on this show, when he would come with Deborah Birx and they would stand in front of the American people in the White House press briefing room and say all these things, 6 foot distancing.
Right.
Yeah, wear that thing on your mask. Get shot. The more shots you get, the more immunity you're going to have. Then he would go back through that sliding door where the Oval Office is, and he would laugh.
Yep.
He would laugh, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
Now, it's in his diaries that he was also enamored with himself and his great celebrity.
This
is embarrassing.
Seen to many as a superhero, but you are a human being, and you've been working nonstop since all of this began, communicating with the public, trying to get a handle on this pandemic in terms of the science. So how do you keep yourself going?
That's Dana Bash. We have emails from her to him talking about how she wanted to set him up perfectly, calling him a superhero. So did Morning Joe.
Anthony Fauci, American hero and New York Yankee fan.
He was given a blanket pardon. I just played the bit from Rand Paul. He was given a blanket pardon from Joe Biden. Now, it wasn't Joe Biden that gave him the blanket pardon. That was the pin, the auto pin.
Right, whomever was operating that. Right?
No, the only one that Joe Biden ever signed was the one on his son.
Yeah.
All of the other pardons that he gave were signed by the pen. He didn't know anything about it. And we can now, I think, and I think Rand Paul is leading in that direction, challenge that blanket pardon, because you don't blanket pardon anybody. You do it for a specific crime. On this date, you committed that crime. You were found guilty. Now we're going to give you a pardon for that crime.
We said it at the time. Why does he need a pardon? For what does he need? I mean, we already had our suspicions as to why the guy may need a pardon. I mean, everybody knew. But as far as the surface of it, why would a man who apparently has never broken the law or committed a crime need a pardon? Why? It didn't make any sense unless you know that he was guilty of something, which is true, I guess, of anybody who gets one of these pardons in this manner. But, beyond the crap about, the origins and what to do about it, the gloating over his own celebrity. These entries were from his personal diary, right? This is what he's writing. Yes. He's not expecting anybody to see this, I imagine. I don't know. But he's writing this crap in a personal diary about how much he's loving the Fauci celebrity train, essentially. Talking about how many stories on a daily basis are about him and focused on him. It's really embarrassing.
And it's not just writing. He included pictures of people wearing his shirts. He included pictures of the bobbleheads. He included the celebrity night at the baseball game where he threw the first pitch out. Why are you giving him the first pitch? Why are you giving him T-shirts? Why is he accepting that stuff? Because it wasn't about a disease. It was all about creating a lot of money and creating celebrity for himself. That's why he did this. It had nothing to do with the disease. The disease, again, he told himself, writing to himself, the infection rate was infinitesimal.
Yeah, and yet he had merch. This guy had his own merch website. I mean, people were buying Fauci bobbleheads. You mentioned earlier, he had a freaking action figure. He's the director of the Center for Infectious Diseases. What the hell does he need an action figure for?
He had like a St. Michael thing around that people could wear around their neck. The patron saint of public health.
This is something that should piss off Democrats as well as Republicans. This should piss people off across the board. Yet it does not.
You give Democrats way too much credit. You give them way too much credit for having morals because they don't.
Yeah, apparently not.
More Rima coming up, KTSA. Upper 90s all week. Right now, 77 KTSA. 8:52 with Ware and Rima, KTSA.
I was going to talk about something completely different, but they've been showing the video of this guy dressed like Spider-Man in Arkansas, where he got some person in a wheelchair trying to get across the street. And I don't even know why I haven't really read much into the story, but I don't know why the guy was dressed like Spider-Man. But he hops out of his car and tries to get the guy across the street, and so the video went viral, And oddly enough, the Spider-Man movie is coming out in a week. The Marvel universe is kind of resetting. They got new Avengers movies coming out. So really the timing couldn't be better, and I don't know if it's connected or not.
Let me give you a little background because we did talk about it last week. Yeah, he works at a trampoline park, and he was headed home. He was dressed in character at the trampoline park. But I shared the story. Our own Arnold Piankowski did that in front of me on San Pedro over by the old Alamo Cafe back in the day.
He's a former sales guy here.
That's right.
What did he do?
He did exactly that. We were driving down the road. I was following him. We were coming back from a client, and the red light came on, and there was a guy trying to get across which San Pedro is nuts in that.
Oh, it is, yeah.
It's crazy right there. Guy trying to get across there. Arnie jumps out of his black Camaro, runs over, grabs the wheelchair, pushes the guy all the way across.
Oh, I thought you meant he was dressed like Spider-Man.
Well,
which I
did say last week you never know what he would be. He has all kinds of costumes.
But I thought that was a funny story, and also I've been reading The Odyssey is doing very well. I have not seen it. I don't really have much of a desire to see it. But universally, everybody I know who has gone and seen it, whether they're liberal or conservative, politically speaking, they're all saying it's a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get beyond if you got some casting issues, I don't want to be a hypocrite either because I believe that, anybody can play anybody. I mean, it's acting. So if you want to cast somebody who is not stereotypical to a certain role, if they can pull it off well, why not? You know what I mean?
That was the point of theater.
I watched Spam a lot, a couple of weeks ago, and they got a large black guy playing King Arthur, which, historically, obviously wouldn't have been the case, but the guy was brilliant. So a lot of these issues apparently concerning the Odyssey and the casting of Elliot Page and stuff like that, apparently people who actually see the movie are genuinely blown away by it, and they genuinely say it's good, except for Elon. I'm sure you guys mentioned that about he wants to fund a historically accurate version of the Odyssey.
Do his own version. But it's all going to be AI.
AI, which it's going to be. We're going to see more and more of. So.
The other story around that movie we talked about last week was the trailer that is freaking people out.
I didn't see the trailer. What was this?
While you're sitting there waiting for the Odyssey to start, the Other Mommy trailer comes on. And it is all about another mommy who shows up in a little girl's life, and the other mommy looks just like her real mommy, except she is demon-possessed, and she does the whole Linda Blair.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
For Halloween. It's a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
A horror movie.
It's the whole Linda Blair thing, and people are sitting there thinking they're going to see the Odyssey in a minute. They're eating popcorn. All of a sudden, this demon comes out of the screen.
Wait, is this the new Exorcist movie?
No.
Oh, okay, because there is a new one coming out.
No, it's called The Other Mommy.
Okay, The Other Mommy.
Yeah, and it's people are coming out there going, you'd have to show that trailer before the Odyssey. I was there to see.
When you look at the face of the woman, it looks AI generated.
But it's not. It's Chastain. It's that's
the actor.
The actress Chastain. What's her first name? Jennifer.
It's like Ron Howard, her mom, her dad, or something like that.
Whatever her first name is.
I think it's something like that.
So it's her. She plays both parts.
Oh, really? Really? So people were freaked out by the trailer going into the Odyssey.
Yes.
That makes it a successful trailer.
That's right.
People are talking about it.
That's right.
Trailer did its work, man.
That's right. The Other
Mommy.
But
I was kind of surprised that people are. You're pretty much hearing across the board. I'm not a big Christopher Nolan fan. I think he's kind of hit or miss with me. But
the director, he's the director.
Yeah, Chris Nolan. He's the director. I actually really didn't think the Batman movies were all that great. I thought Heath Ledger was great in that one. Inception, I thought, was incomprehensible and stupid. But he when he's good, he's kind of like Tarantino for me. When he's good, he's really, really good. And Oppenheimer was perfection. I mean, Oppenheimer was a great movie. And so, good on him if people are enjoying it. Because at the end of the day, it's like sometimes you will say about a good song, well, it doesn't really matter how the song came into existence. If it's a good song, people like it. Or maybe John Nolte says this stuff at Breitbart a lot. That if people like it, who cares? You know, if people like the Odyssey and they get something out of it and it's a good afternoon for them watching a movie, well, then cool. We over-politicize stuff to the extent to where it gets kind of silly after a while. So, you know, movie's doing well. It's his biggest, I think, 2 opening weekends of his career of any movie the guy's ever released. And a lot of people are enjoying it. So.
We'll be back. More Ware and Rima, KTSA.
Dr. Williams.
Well, you want some breaking news? These families of those who died on 9/11, they don't want Muammar Mamdani there. Muammar Mamdani. Because he hates Jews, and he is a radical Islamist, and he is married to someone who says, and she's been very clear in this throughout the years, not only did America deserve what we got on 9/11, but she fully supports what happens on 9/11. He sleeps next to her each and every night. So Muammar Mamdani may not be able to go to the 9/11 ceremony and have a good time enjoying what the radical Islamists did to the United States on that day.
This is the 25th anniversary.
I was going to say,
Yes,
it's
it
the
is.
25th anniversary. It's a biggie, and about 5,000 people have already signed this petition to have him banned from, which, I'm sorry, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, if I'd have lost somebody on that day in New York City, I wouldn't want that guy anywhere near me, man.
He's a radical Islamist. He does not need to be there. Because why? The only reason he would go would be to dance on the graves of those who died there. That's why, because that's what he represents. He represents radical Islam. His wife is a radical Islamist. These people don't like New York City, and they certainly hate Jews.
Maybe instead of, you know how they read the 3,000 names? Maybe he'll read the names of the terrorists.
Well, probably. Here's the 19 heroes.
So we
Names
have
of the terrorists and the virgins that you get when you go to heaven, give their names to.
So we have Netanyahu coming to the White House this week, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Tomorrow.
I would like for Trump to invite Mamdani to the White House so he can
Meet them together?
That would be awkward.
Face to face. Yes.
It'd be fun.
I would love that.
Here's some more breaking news. Pennsylvania just carried out a voter registration purge. Pennsylvania.
Right.
Voter registration purge. That means people that weren't supposed to be on the registration. Republicans gained 7,000 net voters on Democrats. Cleaning up the voter rolls or favoring Republicans. Democrats lost over 64,000 voters, bringing their statewide Democrat lead down to just over 56,000. This is just coming out right now. This comes after, of course, New Jersey was exposed for all the non-citizens on their voter rolls. But as we've always said, anytime somebody who votes when they shouldn't vote in our elections, meaning they're not citizens of this country, they're voting Democrat.
You never see it go in the opposite direction.
The purge is helping Republicans here. This is why we must have the Save America Act, because people who should not be voting in our elections are voting in our elections, and we know it's true. President Trump put this up 46 minutes ago. Whichever party terminates the filibuster first will be the party that survives and thrives. If the Democrats win this race, however, America will rapidly become nothing more than a third world nation. President Donald J. Trump. He's 1,000,000% correct on all of the above, that the Democrats, once they get into power, they will get rid of the filibuster and all of this stuff that they want to do, opening the borders, impeaching Donald Trump, everything that is
Get rid of the Senate.
coming after your guns, all this other stuff is going to happen because they will, without shame, they will get rid of the filibuster. They will not respect the minority party if they win the midterms.
Sure.
That's what's at stake here.
Well, absolutely, and elections will be, just as meaningless as they almost are now. It's just kind of interesting that we're getting validation on what a lot of us have been saying for a long time, that, well, yeah, people are on these rolls that shouldn't be on these rolls. Yeah, they're cheating these elections. Because their response to that, what has it been? You just said it a little while ago. Oh, no, that's not happening. No, there's no evidence that there are people on the voter rolls who shouldn't be there. We found a bunch of them here in Texas. And now you have the receipts, if you will, that, well, yeah, absolutely this is going on. It's going on in New Jersey. This is in Pennsylvania. I think you can imagine it's probably going on to a certain extent across the country, especially in states where Republicans would normally do well. I mean, it's obviously going in the direction of the Democrats.
It's 280,000 registered who are not citizens of this country. Yeah. 280,000.
And when they vote what? Democrat.
And in the case of New Jersey, it takes 10 votes to sway an election. The last several elections in New Jersey were decided by 10 votes or less. Now, if you extrapolate that across, 50 states, if you've got, you realize that it's only a handful that sway federal elections in this country. So if you've got 280,000 who are on the voter rolls who shouldn't be, that's padding their win by a whole lot on their side for Democrats to pull this thing off. It's called a cheat, which they have been doing successfully now for decades. This is nothing new.
Oh, sure.
Nothing new.
We're learning now, how long this has been going on. But, I mean, again, if you're fighting the Save America Act, whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, there can be only one reason why you'd be doing that. Trump says it on a routine basis. I don't think he said it Friday night, but he said it before.
Well, as far as
the only reason you'd not want this is because you want to cheat.
The Democrats.
The
Republican rhinos like John Cornyn and Tom Tillis and those guys, they want to do it to get at Donald Trump.
No, perhaps they do, but they're still codifying cheating.
Of course they are.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not necessarily a cheat that's going to help them. What they're trying to do is get back at Donald Trump because they have Trump derangement. The case of John Cornyn as an example, okay? John Cornyn said on May 26th, this is my Liberation Day, you're now going to see the real John Cornyn. And last week, the man walked down the halls of Congress and was very proud that he personally is going to hold up all of Donald Trump's nominations until money is spent in Africa. Now, look, he doesn't care about money being spent in Africa. He's there to do one thing, and that's to be an obstructionist for the Trump agenda. And he and Tillis and the rest of them, Mitch McConnell, all of them that hate Trump, that's what their goal is to do, is to be an obstructionist of the Donald Trump agenda, which is a pro-America agenda, by the way. And if they have to have illegal votes to do so, well, then all the better. Let the illegal votes fly.
Well, I absolutely. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's interesting. I don't know. I saw a story. We were talking about kicking this around over the weekend that somebody did. It went to ChatGPT. And asked AI, basically, if you were president of the United States, what would you do? And a lot of it that came up, even though we know a lot of this stuff is slanted to the left as far as AI, but it came up, I'd secure the borders, I'd reduce inflation, I'd make elections, legitimate. It was a lot of the stuff that Trump has been doing. This is to your point that a lot of what he does is great for this country. And has been very successful for this country, which makes the people who hate his guts unreasonable seem so freaking childish, especially when they're Republicans.
And the people who hate the country, like Mom Donnie.
Right.
They win if Donald Trump loses, okay? And that's the whole point. What they're attempting to do, and they have been here for generations now, trying to destroy this country from within. And this, with these folks going, the Senate is going to go on a month-long break. If they do that without passing the Save America Act, you can forget about the midterms because they will cheat the midterms. People who are not supposed to vote will vote, and a lot of Republicans won't even go vote because they'll say, what the hell's the point?
No, we've talked about that before. Yeah, why would you bother? I mean, the voter turnout is pretty low already, which is another thing that these people count on is low voter turnout. But if this doesn't happen before the midterms and the midterms go south, it's all over. I mean, as far as legitimate elections in this country ever again, really, or for the foreseeable future. I don't know how you once you get there, and they're able to enact a lot of this stuff. I don't know how you turn that boat around.
You don't.
You
don't. Doesn't happen. The WNBA, known as I call it the Woke No Bra Association, the WNBA, the Woke No Bra. Because why bother? They're all playing as guys. No USA 250 patches on their uniforms.
Yeah.
Everybody else, NFL wore them, NBA wore them. Everybody else wore USA 250, and the reason. Okay, go ahead,
I'm sorry. I was jumping in on you. Sorry. They're trying to blame the union, I think, or something like that.
Well, what they said was this came out from a tweet from one of the girls on the team or one of the teams. These girls would not have been free 250 years ago.
Right.
Why do we celebrate 250 years of this country? Well, you wouldn't be bouncing a ball down a court making the kind of money you're making in any other country. That's why you celebrate it.
It's a ridiculous claim. It really is.
Kai Soto. 39-year-old California man, been missing for over a month. He went out of the Pacific Ocean on June 7th in his sailboat. The mast broke. Then he ran out of gas for the motor. Then his cell phone died. He's been adrift since June 7th in the Pacific Ocean. Got caught in some currents, got carried away. He said, now this is, I tell you what, you talk about manna from heaven. He had squid and fish falling into his boat, okay?
Yeah.
He would take a big, giant mug and put it in the ocean water, and then he would lick the condensation on the outside as fresh water for him to be able to stay alive.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It's brilliant, isn't it? And he's eating the fish and the squid that fell into the boat. He was just found by a giant oil tanker off the coast of Hawaii.
That's a long,
He
long
drifted,
journey, man. Yeah.
drifted all the way to Hawaii, surviving that way. He's fine.
It's like Castaway.
Yes, pretty
Yeah,
much.
Except he got, I mean, he was very lucky and
Isn't that
very
incredible?
fortunate. Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant, licking the condensation because it wouldn't be salty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be accumulating from the
That's right.
atmosphere.
Exactly.
Because you got the water inside.
That's right. In New York, circus up there,
Oh,
Anna Daza Tavera, she's 42. She's an arrow. Okay. So she fired an arrow at a piece of foam held by a co-performer by the name of Edwin Rangel, who's 38. The arrow missed the foam, hit Mr. Rangel in the neck. Not too serious. He was taken to the hospital.
No blood.
No,
Yeah.
He's going to be all right.
What'd he do?
Huh?
He went, ouch.
What did he do?
He just
He just was standing there.
Oh.
She was shooting. They're husband and wife, and she does the sharpshoot with the crossbow, and
Yeah.
he puts a target up over his head, and she missed.
Oops.
And hit him in the neck.
Oops. More Ware and Rima coming up, KTSA. Gonna be hot, upper 90s all week long. Right now, 77 at KTSA. news here. Cracker Barrel CEO Julie Feiss-Massino, she's stepping down this morning. Last year, she took Cracker Barrel through that disastrous rebrand, got rid of Uncle Herschel, all of those kinds of things. They had to go back to what they were doing. So she's stepping down now. CEO, the Bloomin' Brand CEO, David Deno, they own Outback Steakhouse. He's going to take over August 10th.
Well, good. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. And she did try, and it did not work out well for her or for Cracker Barrel, which I haven't actually been to one of those in decades. I really haven't. I can't think of the last time I've been to a Cracker Barrel. Have you been recently?
Yeah, there's define recently, but within the past few months I have been. There's one right here on Ritterman.
No, I haven't been in quite a while. Couple of things. We had talked about the Katy Perry thing where Trump used firework in one of these bombing Iran videos that he put out, and she got a little pissed off about that. Says she did not give her permission. I was looking over some of these posts, though, that did come over the weekend from the Trump administration, and we've talked about Iran a little bit here and there today. We're now on this pause, so to speak, in hostilities or attacks after last week. You and I have a little conversation right before we go on the air every morning, and we were talking about how I was off last week, but as the week progressed, I'm like, oh boy, okay, well, this is going to start getting serious now. And once again, it didn't happen. And here we are Monday morning, and the big thing didn't happen. Trump has been talking about blowing up bridges and taking out power grids, and we got to get serious. And yet, I think even Friday night he mentioned that, diplomacy, whatever. I can honestly say, and I'm being totally, I try to be completely honest with my thoughts on the air. I have no idea at this point what's going on with Iran. I believe that there still is a plan. I don't think he's stumbling through this. But we certainly we're on this hamster wheel of additional attacks by Iran, attacks on the Hormuz Strait, attacks on cargo ships, attacks on American troops, attacks on Jewish troops, folks in the region. And we're always, okay, that's it. Okay, that's it. Okay, we're going to have to go in there heavy-handed. And it never happens. I don't know what's at play. I don't know what the thinking is behind the scenes. Netanyahu's going to be here tomorrow. It certainly feels like the midterms are some kind of a factor, maybe perhaps in this, one way or the other. Certainly the Iranians want to keep this going into the midterms and hurt Trump with it. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what your sense is as far as what actually is going on, but I don't know. But I was looking at some of these posts where it's Trump, in the sky, and there are jet airplanes flying away from him. There's these little bombing graphics that he puts out there of bombing Iran. And he certainly is. And I'm a Trump fan still, Friday night notwithstanding. I thought he sucked Friday night, but I'm still a fan of the guy. I still think he's doing an awesome job. But he is a bizarre dude. He is a smidge eccentric. Do you know what I mean? As far as an American president, he really is. I mean, the graphics are hilarious.
I think, first of all, I don't know anything, but certainly when it comes to this, I don't know anything. I'm just going by what we've watched last week in particular, 13 straight nights of attacks, particularly along the border, taking out missile sites, taking out all the drone capability. They don't really have many drones left now since last week when we did what we did. I think we're now paying closer attention to the Strait of Hormuz. That Iran went in this weekend and they knocked out a ship that tried to go through the Strait of Hormuz. They had another ship that got blasted by hitting one of the mines in the Strait of Hormuz. So they're still saying they control the strait, and to a certain degree they do. I think there's two things that could be at play soon, and it involves not anything any of us want to see or think about, but probably troops on the ground. Number one is going into Pickaxe Mountain and trying to get what's in Pickaxe Mountain, meaning the nuclear capabilities that are there, because you can't hit it. You can't hit this one from the sky.
I was reading about that.
Yeah, you can't hit it from the sky.
It's so far down, and they got all these tunnel networks down there, and they're moving stuff there.
Yeah, you got to put troops in there if you're going to go for what you got to get out of there, which is his number one goal, is making sure that he gets their nuke stuff. So it's either our troops or special forces from Israel, or a combination of the both, and then possibly going after Karg Island to absolutely strangle them, to kill off the economy, whatever's. There's not much left of their economy, but if you took and you have to have troops to do this. You can't do this by the air. So both of these scenarios that I'm putting forward of people that I've been watching all weekend and paying attention to puts troops in there, and it puts them in a precarious position, and that's when you start to lose people, and that's a bad idea during the midterm.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think there's two things that people, find very distasteful, can't stomach. The idea of troops on the ground, American troops on the ground, and civilians dying. Those are the two things that people don't like.
What do you think about if more American soldiers die, like the 4 from last weekend?
Well, and that's what I'm saying, Elaine, is that if he puts troops on the ground, they will die. There will be those that will die because, remember, the IRGC has a huge army. It's big. We're talking several 100,000 is what we're told, the size of their army. So we may have taken away their ballistic missile and their drone capability, but we didn't take away the troops on the ground.
I think even Trump said on Friday night they still have drones, they still have stuff. We're bombing the snot out of them. But that's last week. That's why I think everybody was thinking, oh wow, American blood has been spilled. Trump and Hegseth are going to turn that place into a mirror.
Yeah,
and they didn't do it.
We thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And we, in fact, left here on Friday, and she and I were talking about how.
Where he was saying a head for an eye.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife it's going to be a long weekend, and here we are again.
I played the sound from Rubio several times last week. Head for an eye. They're not ready to make a deal, but we're going to make them ready soon and all that. So
right.
I just kept playing that over and over again.
Oh, the head for an eye. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a badass statement. But to what ends? I mean, again, we're kind of right back where we were before. So I don't know.
Maybe we are. Maybe we're not. Maybe he's sitting back, because he's got something else. Esper said, did you see Esper yesterday? Mark Esper said yesterday, it looks to him, and he was a Secretary of Defense. He said, this looks like we're recalibrating, reloading, and getting ready to go across the border.
Oh, maybe I did see that when I was watching.
The attacks last week were all across the border,
right?
Taking out their border defenses.
You're softening up the border so you can roll the troops.
Very well might be. This is pure speculation, but that's what it appears to be. More Ware and Rima coming up. KTSA.
Hi, I'm Joe Cook.
9:34, Ware, Rima, KTSA. Just to put a cap on what President Trump is doing with Iran, it's very possible he's playing rope-a-dope. He's a big boxing fan, a huge Muhammad Ali fan and friend to Muhammad Ali. And it's very because he's done it before. He's done it politically to the Democrats for quite some time.
That's a fair point, yeah.
So if that's what he's doing, it's very, very clear that he is bringing them in, and then he's just going to nail them to the wall with overwhelming force.
Just you mean wearing them down over time, and with the rope-a-dope, meaning you want the other guy to keep running around, dancing around the ring until the other guy gets tired and can't fight anymore.
You basically stand there and put your hands up, and he swings at you and swings at you and swings at you.
Right.
And then when he can't even hold his hands up anymore, you just
That's
go.
when you wipe him out.
You go kapow. And it's very possible that's what he's doing here. Is he's saying, okay, I'm going to let you expend all of your energy, and then I'm just going to overwhelmingly destroy you. I don't know, Sean. I don't know anything about it. There's people listening to us right now who have a million times the intelligence on this stuff that you and I have. So they're in a much better position to know. But as commentators, that's where my head is right now. I'm thinking that he's just playing a big game of rope-a-dope with these guys. We're lined up. We're ready. And we're ready to overwhelm these people and utterly destroy them. We can't do another Afghanistan or an Iraq.
Oh, God,
The
no.
American people will not stand for that. Just can't do it. And as I was telling Elaine, as I walked out earlier, you were doing your commercial, that he can't do this in the midterms and have body bags start coming home. That's just an impossibility. It's not.
We were saying last break that, body bags start showing up in Delaware, and you don't think that's going to impact the midterm elections? Absolutely it would.
It destroys the chance.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, we're looking at all these things that are put up on the screen about how Democrats are leading at almost every category. Now, look, I don't believe all that. I don't believe all that propaganda that comes from the media, but it's big. Okay, now, fraud. Fraud is being uncovered and discovered. The COVID-19 fraudster that made about $34 million in her pocket, she has been captured. She was abroad. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Bobby announced just a few minutes ago, man, they're going after this Medicaid and Medicare fraud in a big way.
We doubled the amount in 4 years. We doubled the amount we were spending on Medicaid, mainly because there was all these illegal people signed up for it. We found one guy who was registered for Medicaid in 12 different states. And then we found many people, millions of people who were enrolled in both Medicaid and Obamacare. Most of them didn't know they were even enrolled in Medicaid.
Wow.
But the insurance company, are collecting the money. And so they would just sign up people, and they would get these brokers to sign up people. They'd give them money for everybody they signed up, but a lot of the people didn't even know they were being signed up.
Did the what is it called, Doge, did that system come in and actually find all that, or was this because it was
Doge found a lot of it, but Doge was really the first year, and we really started finding all of this fraud.
And part of the reason all that fraud existed, it's gone on for decades, but part of the reason is Democrat politicians, when they were in power, primarily Democrats, some Republicans, they canceled any kind of fraud follow-up. In other words, any kind of investigation into fraud was done away with. There were, of course, supposed to be checks and balances. The Biden administration did away with the checks and balances. And they also did away with the entire divisions inside of our government that looked at the legitimacy of a claim, like Bobby's talking about with this guy who was registered with Medicaid in 12 different states. The reason that wasn't caught is because Biden got rid of the organization in our government that would look for that specific problem.
So if you're able to do it unchecked, you're going to absolutely. I think when the dust settles on just how much fraud has been taking place between our government and the healthcare system, it's gonna curl your toes. It really is. It's already at this point. And the fact that more Democrats aren't pissed off about this. I mean, look at Minnesota alone and how you had people within a Democrat administration who were saying, hey, this clinic doesn't really exist. This school isn't real. We're seeing this all over, and they're told from the top down, don't say anything about it, and they're actually targeted as whistleblowers. Where else is that going on? I mean, we're just at the tip of the iceberg, I think.
We are at the tip of the iceberg.
That's what's scary about it.
Well,
in a sense.
We are at the tip of the iceberg. This has been going on for decades now. It's been trillions of dollars that have been taken out of the United States of America, spread all over this world illegally and by fraud. But none of this matters until people actually start going to prison. We can sit here and we can talk about this, and Bobby can talk about it till he's blue in his face, and they can go get people wherever they are on the planet. But people aren't going to prison for this. And that's where the rubber meets the road. When you start locking people up for this for a long period of time,
Well,
Tim
you
Walsh,
get their attention real quick.
Absolutely. But if you're not willing to do that, then it's not going to do any good. It's not going to matter. You can say, we're catching fraud all day long, and that's great. I'm glad you're catching fraud. Lock these people up. It's kind of like,
I agree.
A guy is going to come testify in front of the Senate on Wednesday who shouldn't be walking around free, and that's Anthony Fauci. He should have faced all kinds of prosecution already. And there's many others that until we start to see, as I call them, receipts on these people, these fraudsters, it's not going to matter.
I agree. Just one side note on the Fauci thing. Okay, Fauci is the guy who should be facing an international tribunal. Okay, and yet they want to arrest Netanyahu. It's ridiculous. But you're right. People who are engaged in this fraud, because one person can't pull it off, right? It's got to be a network of people that pull this crap off. It's not going to stop until you're right. You start throwing people in jail, till people start getting serious charges with serious consequences.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it yet, but we're still right now. I think we're pretty much still in the discovery aspect, where we're just finding out or establishing this is going on.
Well, that's fine, but walk and chew gum at the same time. If you're arresting or if you're finding the fraud, you're uncovering the fraud, get them behind bars and bricks as quick as possible, because that's what's going to stop this. It's not going to be just the fact, we've uncovered fraud. That's not going to do anything to stop it.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you're locking these people up, and in many cases throwing away the key. So let's do it. Talked a lot last week about Mamdani and his words about Benjamin Netanyahu trying to incite somebody to do something really stupid when Benjamin Netanyahu gets here, which that's a fool's errand anyway. He travels with the Mossad. Okay, so nothing is going to happen to him.
He didn't seem too bothered yesterday talking on Fox News.
But the whole point was about, your words have an effect, okay? And for years we have heard, and particularly during the Obama third term, which Joe Biden was the president in name only, we heard about white supremacy. And remember, the defense secretary, he said his number one job was not fighting wars. His number one job was dealing with white supremacy in his own military. That was Lloyd Austin. So some folks were relaxing and enjoying themselves at a Maui resort, Kanapali Ali. 30 attacked. 6 were in serious condition. They had undergone racist threats. They were just hanging out there at the resort.
Right.
When a woman walked up and said, "We're going to beat up Haole." Now, Haole is, when you look it up in Hawaiian, are white boys. And so this was a hate crime, a racist attack against white boys. And what inspires that? People who grew up with their brain being programmed that white supremacy is absolutely horrible, and we gotta wipe the world of white supremacy. So people were just enjoying themselves in Maui, Hawaii, got the snot beat out of them.
Yeah, and you hear that messaging, and that messaging is at just about every level, if you will, education system, politically, economically, that, what is it I was reading last week? That we've talked about this stuff before, where being polite is like a sign of white supremacy, showing up on time. In fact, you link everything, almost every human behavior to a certain extent, to white supremacy, so you can point your finger and say you're a racist, whether you are or not, whether you are or you are not. And so what happens? Well, anybody who's white is a target, whether they're in Hawaii or they're in Israel or they're across the globe or they're across the country. It doesn't matter. All white people bad. We've been hearing this messaging for quite a while now. You and I talk about Obama as being the guy who kind of kicked this stuff off, because the first black president really was proof positive that our country has dealt with racism one way or the other, a smidge since Jim Crow. So what did they have to do? They had to make racism genetic. They had to make racism something that you have no matter how you live your life or what choices you make or how you treat people. You are inherently a racist if you are a white person.
That's right.
Which itself is racist as hell.
That's right. Let me tell you about Amegy Bank with just the greatest services for families and for small businesses that you're going to find out of any banking institution at all. They're the best bank in Texas for SBA loans. But their accounts that they can offer to small businesses are absolutely amazing. And I know because I'm a client of Amegy Bank. I have been for over 15 years, both personally and with our businesses at the warehouse. And these guys are amazing. We just opened up the Business Beyond account a few weeks ago, and it performs like the big guys' accounts do. Does all the stuff that the big guys, the big business accounts do, but without the big business price. Because we're a small business, we don't need to be paying for these services. First of all, we don't need, but also we don't need to be paying an exorbitant price to get the services that we do need. And your friends over at Amegy, they understand that better than anybody else. David McGee is a brilliant man who heads up Amegy Bank here, and he has forged these accounts, put them together so that small businesses can not only survive but thrive no matter what the market conditions are, no matter what is going on in the marketplace. You can really get great services for your small business from Amegy Bank. It's the go-to bank for small business in the state of Texas, Amegy NA, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Upper 90s all week this week. Right now, 78 KTSA.
Good morning as you head into your
Oh, yeah. This reminds me, I just want to toss it. I'm going to toss it in a couple of times this week because he's so helpful to us throughout the year when we have events here in the Alamo Lounge. Rick Rice is having his anniversary at Saturday night at 9 p.m. over at the Martini Club.
Wow.
It's his birthday, and it's also the 8th year anniversary of the formation of the Rick Rice Band.
Oh, good on him.
So I just want to toss that in there because anytime we yell at him to come help us, he comes and helps us. So
yes, he does.
Just wanted to holler his way and say, man, Saturday night if you're free, I'm going to be there. I'm going to go sing. Got some special guests going to come. Yeah, I got some special guests going to come sing as well. That's this Saturday night over at the Martini Club. So this happened with Shannon Bream yesterday.
So we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these.
She is talking with Megan Romer, the DSA National Co-Chair.
Abolish the Senate. True. Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them. Yep. Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Okay, so a few other things that she talked about in there. Let's see here. Defund the Pentagon. Eliminate prisons. Shift corporations to public ownership. And then, of course, expand Congress. Don't have a Senate. Make it unicameral. Abolish voter registration. Anybody over the age of 18 is going to be allowed to vote. They don't have to be a citizen in this country. They don't have to do anything other than just show up at the polling place and cast your ballot. In fact, the DSA just had a workshop. The rationalization of a pirate kingdom is what they called it, that the U.S. Constitution is that. For ways to abolish the Constitution, led by a radical Kenyan. And no, it wasn't Obama, although he is a radical Kenyan. He wrote a book, his name is Fidel, How Americans Came to Idolize a Document That Fails Them. So these people are about it. They're full on with it. The complete transformation that was started by Obama, they want to complete, and they see it as their job, their duty, to complete this radical transformation of the United States.
No, I agree. Oh, I thought we were talking to Jack.
No,
Oh, no.
He's not connected.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, they're crazy people, and they're causing a lot of turmoil within the Democratic Party. Nobody knows exactly. A lot of these people don't know exactly what to do in that sense. Do I align myself with these people? Do I make a stand and say we can't let these folks take over the Democratic Party? I don't know. I mean, they're a threat because I agree that you played some audio from a commentator earlier. Who was on Fox, I guess, yesterday, who was talking about how the way these people come into power is when everybody else is looking in the opposite direction. When people go like sheepish, when you become a sheep and you're not paying attention, and you hear some stuff that sounds great to you, like free health care and maybe you're an open borders person, you like the sound of that. Maybe you like the sound of no prisons. Maybe you like the sound of more government programs so you don't have to buy food or government-run or government-owned stores where you can buy cheap crap. You love the sound of it, but you're not paying close enough attention to how that happens. And you're also not paying attention to history as far as how these things usually go whenever you have a communist state that is put into place. What happens? Everybody ends up, devastatingly poor and brutalized by the government, while a relatively small group of people have all the wealth and run everything.
Well, it's this wide. The gulf is this wide. So you have these up here that are extremely wealthy, and then everybody else is supporting them. There is no middle class. There's no lower middle class, upper middle class, middle class. There's no middle class at all. And one of the things that I played earlier this morning, and it's all on my X account, you guys want to go over to the X account and see all this stuff, is James Tallarico talking about how we need to get rid of prisons. And people are challenging me on this. I did a video, which Sam put up a little while ago. People are challenging me on this. Go watch the video. But look, he says it. It comes out of his own mouth. And his people now are saying, no, he doesn't believe we should get rid of prisons. And so the monkeys who follow this guy believe the same thing. Well, no, he doesn't want to get rid of it. Well, he said, number one, prisons are violence. We need to get rid of them. I don't know how more clearly he could have said it. He said people do not belong in cages. And he said that Americans will learn to live without prisons. Well, I went and I looked up the stats. 62% of the people who are in prison are there for violent crimes, rape and murder.
Right.
Before they went to prison, they were arrested on average 11 times before they ever got sent to prison the first time. And 83% of them, when they are turned loose from prison, go right back and commit a crime. But the crime, oftentimes, more often than not, is more violent than the crime that put them in prison the first time. So don't tell me we don't need prisons. We need prisons, and we need to keep the people that are in there in there.
Well, it's a ridiculous idea. It's another one of those nonsensical ideas that really, will you throw out there, and the idiots, the stupid, embrace it completely, and they don't think about it at all. What does that mean? Didn't you say earlier, I think we can live through love instead of prisons? And it's like, well, what does that mean? What does that even mean? That doesn't really mean anything.
That's what
he
said.
Are you love crime away?
That's what he said.
How do you do that?
You
don't go up and give somebody who wants to stab you a hug?
That's exactly
They'll
right.
Probably stab you a little deeper.
We got to get out of here.
Yes, we do.
We'll be back at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Yes, we